How are you all today? My name is Neil with Portal to Ascension, and thank you all so much for being here. Extremely excited. And I've said it over and over again, the numbers are really good on this one, that a lot of us have come together in order to really be here for this event, not just on, the energy of the moment and what is going on the planet, but just because of the drawing, the magnetic pull that we have to be together in this time so that we can create, consciousness, uplift the consciousness, and also create real disclosure on the planet that is beneficial for everybody. And I know that's why you guys are here, because that's the name of the event, Making Contact. And we have some amazing panelists today. But I want to say to you that this right now, where you're at right now, is actually a party for Alan Steinfeld's book. So we're actually now, we invited you to a party for Alan Steinfeld's book, Making Contact. And the panelists today are, that Alan's going to introduce in a moment here, are actually featured in his book. And I do want to, do a little bit about Portal to Ascension, but since this is your event that you're hosting, Alan, I want to bring you on immediately and say hi and acknowledge you.
I want to support, Neil works really hard getting these online events with all the people, not just in UFOs, but human potential. That's really the theme of this conference, of his Portal to Ascension. And so put your Portal to Ascension, screen share. This is all the things, almost 12,000 hours of free interviews, conferences, webinars that Neil's been doing for how long? How many years, Neil?
Since 2008 is when I started, but 2014 is when I started creating these online events.
Right.
And just to let everybody know, because I believe a good 400 or so signed up for my email list, but if you have not been a part of a Portal to Ascension event before, go ahead and put the number 1 in the chat room. I'm curious to know how many new people we have. But I'm just going to do a little synopsis of our history, Alan, okay? And then I'll show a couple of pages here. But Portal to Ascension started as a Facebook group in 2012, and it was called 2012 Consciousness, Mind Evolution, and Presence. Over a period of 2 years, I had dreams in which the name continued to shift. In 2008, my last dream was call it Portal to Ascension. I contacted Facebook, asked them to change the fan page name. They said yes, Portal to Ascension was born. At that point, started creating small meditation events, sound healing events that soon led into all-day conferences with speakers from ancient aliens, with William Henry and a few others in 2011-12. Then from there, I realized that we had such a huge community online. We started creating Portal to Ascension Portland, UK, New York, Canada, and it grew so much that we created 2 live conferences in 2012 and then 1 in 2013. And from that moment onwards, really have been picking up momentum and become a huge organization now with around 10,000 hours of presentations of conscious footage. And what you're looking at right now is actually our new website, which is why it says 1170, because I haven't updated everything yet. This site is launching next week. I'm going to show you our current site and this site. But on this site right here, we have really upgraded the tools in order to be able to make it that is easily accessible and able to sort through so much of the footage. If you go up to our website and you sign up, which everyone here is already signed up, but if you went to our website and signed up, email, name, password, you'll immediately get access to 3,000 hours of free presentations that I have gathered over the last 6 to 7 years on every topic under the sun with almost 1,000 different presenters, so many different people. And then also we're creating new free content all the time. For example, this event right here, Making Contact, will be going on our website. So this is how it's going to be here. You guys are the 3rd group of people that I'm showing the new website to that took me exactly a year to finish. And you can see here we have our upcoming events section, which are the next 3 upcoming events. We have a channeling event coming up. We have Quantum Timeline Jumping Conference, Unveiling Galactic Heritage, and Unlimited Human Potential, a 3-day conference with about 10 speakers there. And then, our past events too. There's at least around 1,500 past conferences, webinars, if you were to go to the archives page that you can go ahead and sort through, plus all the extra content. And I'm just going to show you a couple pages here. I'm building out the Watch Now page right now, so it's kind of like Netflix for consciousness. And as you can see, this is how it's going to be looking. We have a continue watching area. We have a My List area. We have a recently added area, stats recommended, right? The thumbnails need to be fixed. And then each category as well. You can click each category, and each category will take you into so much more. True world history, UFO extraterrestrials, evolution of consciousness, conscious science, health and wellness, documentaries. Okay. So really building a lot of content. And it's one last page here. And then also we are becoming this hub and this central database for all these speakers. So I have a speakers page now that I've been building out, and you can see like all these categories. These are the main categories that we really work with, but every one of them has subcategories. And if you click it, you get all the speakers and subcategories. You can go really fine tune to true world history. Which speakers talk about ancient true world history? These ones right here, right? Which ones talk about Egyptian history? And I got a feeling we might find the Hurtak somewhere. And then, then now, for example, if I put in the Hurtaks, we should have them there. I think I added them. Oh, that function isn't working yet. But yeah, so this is the new website, and it's going to be launched next week. We're about to finish and finalize it all. So I'm extremely excited for you to be able to navigate it and use it as a resource that is for you. Not only do you get the 3,000 hours of free presentations, but we're constantly doing an event every single week, about 110 events a year at this point. 80% of them are online. So check it out, portal2ascension.org. And I love you all. And let's go.
No, Neil, I want to say Neil is doing this event for free. He wants to support the book, but also if for people now tuned in live, if you want to support Portal to Ascension, where should they send like a donation, Neil?
If you want to donate and support us, you can do it at the link I just posted in the room. There's PayPal/Portal to Ascension.
Because we it's great to have free programming that people can have access to, and also it supports the whole platform and all the people here. So Neil, is that the commercial? Are we finished?
Yeah, actually, let me just show the amount of pages we have, the amount of events we have. We have around 100 upcoming events already launched on the website. Everything from 1 day to 1 hour to 5-day, 70 speaker, 5-panel events. It's just so incredible. It took a year of coding all this just to get it there. So once the website's up, you can go to our current website right now, take a look. We have them up there too. But when the new website's up, please do go ahead and navigate and go through it, and then join us at some of these events.
Great. Thanks. And Neil's not only the founder of Portal to Ascension, he's a great poet and rap artist. And maybe at the end of the show, you can share some of your very cosmic rhythms and raps. But okay, today's program, thank you everybody for your patience. It is to start off with that book that Desiree Hurtak is holding up. This is the sort of launch of this book here online. If you're going to be in the Sedona area, can I screen share? I'm going to also have a live event. Come to this event at the Unity Church, and we're going to have Travis Walton there, the Hurtaks, Mark Sims, St. Peter, Sterling, and then we're going to follow it with a CE6 meditation out in the desert. And if you see on the left side of the screen, these are the people that are featured in the book. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I want to introduce people here today. And we have Whitley Strieber joining us too. Welcome, Whitley. Unmute yourself, because that's the sort of introduction I want to give to everybody. And I want to say this book is a collection of essays, and 3 of the key contributors to this book are here on the show. 4 of the contributors with 3 of the essays. And I just want to say, because I dedicate this book to the brave pioneers, such as, and I'll name some people that aren't here anymore, Bud Hopkins, John Mack, Whitley Strieber, Linda Moulton Howe, and doctors JJ and Desiree Hurtak, and many, many more who have devoted a lifetime of investigations to exploring the edge of the unknown. They are the giants whose shoulders I stood upon in order to give myself and the rest of humanity a deeper peek into forever. And I especially want to mention the friendship and collaborations of the Hurtaks, whose journeys into the awakening of consciousness have been enduring. So that's my tribute, and that's my inspiration. And all the people we're seeing here have contributed to an education of what making contact is about, and how, as Linda just said a few minutes ago when I was talking to her, we are at the threshold of a new time, of a new reality, of an awakening of a planetary consciousness. So I want this discussion to be sort of about what Whitley and Linda and also the Hurtaks have talked about, but specifically what Colonel J. Corso said to Linda and Whitley. And I'll just add my title, Making Contact. And then what Colonel Corso said, it's a new world if we can take it. That's the essence of making contact. So Whitley, do you want to jump in and talk about what you think Colonel Corso meant? Because this is what I think this audience watching us, 500 people registered. What is this new world? How do we start making contact? And what is the essence of the threshold that we are at the doorstep of? So Whitley.
Well, when I was with Colonel Corso, he told this story. He said that he had ended up in a situation where he was, I believe he said he was in a cave, and he probably told the same story to Linda. So if I've got it wrong, she can correct me. And he was asked by an alien or whatever they are. I'm still not absolutely sure what they are. If they would turn off the radars, this was at White Sands, for 15 minutes in order to let them leave.
Right.
And yeah, that is what he said. Okay. And he said, well, in my business, 15 minutes can be a very long time. What's in it for us? The answer was a new world if you can take it.
Right.
And that is, to me, there have been lots of questions about Colonel Corso and what he said and so forth. Was it true? Was it not? I would just think that statement is entirely true because it is so true to life. The statement means a new world if you can bear it, a new world if you can take it in your own hands, a new world if you can wrest it out of our hands. This is work for you. It's a challenge. It's saying nothing is going to be handed to you on a platter. You either take it or you don't. Sink or swim. Hello to the universe, as it really is.
Is that what you got, Linda, too? What was your...
Yes, and I just cherish my book, The Day After Roswell, because on July 7th of 1997, it was him. It was Lieutenant Colonel Philip J. Corso who brought a book to me and had put in it to Linda Moulton Howe, "It's a new world coming if we can take it." Signed, Lieutenant Colonel Philip J. Corso. I have it in the book. He wrote it in there for me. And he told me the same story about being at the Trinity site in that area and going underground where there was a non-human. What had just happened?
Oh, Whitley's just moving his camera. That's okay. That's okay.
It really
we're
did
okay.
look like instant existential moment, Whitley.
Well, we were at the Trinity site, so what do you expect, right?
And that last night on my Earth Files YouTube channel, it is so interesting that Kathleen Marden and I were talking about the whole issue of what could be the true goals of the non-humans. And she was putting it in the context that she has had interaction in one way or the other, personally or through paper, with 5,000 people in the experiencer abduction syndrome. And out of that 5,000 has come a kind of signal. And the signal, whether you are talking about grays, tall humanoids, reptilians, or others, is this sense of both anguish and urgency in their relationship with what is happening on this planet. And it's in the context of not beating around the bush that we are a created species by other intelligences on this planet in which they have used it as a laboratory. But that right now, the big concern is that one of the statements she quoted from one of the abduction cases was, "You are a very difficult species. We want you to survive and grow and evolve. We are not trying to interfere. But ... if there is not more evolution, and Kathy would say these words, you will be replaced by another version.
Well,
now, some people think that is harsh. Some people think that that's scary. Neither Kathleen nor I do. I do not think that we are dealing with beings who want to annihilate us. I do not think that we are at a crossroads in the evolution of this planet in which, on the other side of we're not alone in the universe, would be our extinction. Not totally the opposite. I think that if we this year or next year finally get that mind-cracking headline, no, we are not alone in this universe. And we're going to start, those who are in power, who have some detailed information about various types and agendas, that maybe we will start getting some truth. And I personally think that nothing could make the Homo sapiens sapiens species evolve to more non-violence than realizing we are not the top of the intelligence chain.
Well, let me get JJ and Desiree involved in this discussion because they've been at the fore. Thank you, Linda. You're absolutely right. I think that will shift our reality. And they've been involved with this new world in their teachings, in their own personal work. And JJ Hurtak was at the first UFO conference and had pictures and evidence of extraterrestrial material. So doctors JJ and Desiree, do you want to jump in about this new world that we're on the threshold of?
Yes, but I like to go back and just continue on from what Linda was saying as well. And that is, we never met personally, sadly, Colonel Corso, but we did know other people who were working for military engineers, things like that, at the Trinity site. And they said they did see things flying over their heads. And that is, was very obvious to them, even back in the 50s and 60s, that there was other life forms in the universe. And so they've been around forever. But it's interesting when we talk about the Trinity site or Area 51, or even the whole situation that Robert Saleh mentions about neutralizing the atomic weapons literally in their silos, not only throughout the northern part of the United States, and you can read up on this, of course, or we can discuss it, but also even in Bettwaters, which was a secret nuclear installation. They clearly are not trying to kill us. They're trying to help us from killing ourselves. So that I want to just go along with what Linda's trying to really say here, that if they're watching, they're helping, they're trying, but they're not intervening, they're not interfering, if I can put that word in accurately. And I think this is probably what everyone else is feeling that's on this panel.
But JJ, talk about the new world that you've been connected with.
We worked behind the scenes for many years, actually 48 years. We have property near White Sands. And I worked with one of the advisors to President Kennedy, who was one of the incorporators of commercial satellites back in the 60s. And he was there at the White Sands Proving Ground when so-called extraterrestrial objects actually interfered with one of the launching of the German missiles and projected it backwards towards Mexico, where it landed near Juarez. The information that came through to him at that time was we were being told to turn our missile program around and not to weaponize space. And so their concern has come from many sources, including former advisors to President Kennedy. So we're talking about the top of the chain of command who's known this for many, many years.
So going back to Alan's question, if we can get through this scenario and move into being peaceful beings and a peaceful species, then I think that's where they really want us to start participating with them in outer space. If you go back even to the recent release from Israel, from Professor Eshed and other people who have talked about this, they all say we're not ready. So what is it that we're not ready? You think, we sat on a boat, Alan, and all of us, I think Linda was there too, and you talk to people who aren't even part of this topic, and they all go, yeah, UFOs exist. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I've all seen ancient aliens, all that stuff. So why aren't we ready? Well, because they don't want our military weapons placed in outer space. They don't want that aggression out in space. I think that's why we're not ready. So the new world will only come when we make our own transformation. And I commend Neil for saying, a lot of the stuff that he's doing started with meditation. I know Whitley, I was just reading your chapter. Whitley is great in making contact. And it talks about a lot of your own transformation came through meditation and things like that. So I think moving into that greater consciousness, understanding our unity and of spirit is part of that new order. And once we can do that, then we will graduate.
Could I just insert why I think we're an abused species is the very fact that whistleblowers, which I totally wish I could give you all of the proof I have, say we have been in interstellar trade since 1972. We have been going with extraterrestrials through the Milky Way galaxy and even to another galaxy, is my understanding. And what have we been gaining? We have been gaining gold and rare metals and diamonds and all kinds of things that could be used and applied in the defense industry and in other general commercial applications on the planet without anyone knowing. But the very fact that there is now an entire Homo sapiens sapien contingent that is tied to the defense area of our country, and I assume China, I assume Russia, the same thing. They already are interstellar. There already has been a huge underground base in a lava tube on Mars since at least the early 1970s, all with the help of some non-humans who, for a variety of possible reasons that might relate to an alleged agreement that Eisenhower made that gave a trade-off so it would be formal that the non-humans could harvest from the earth a limited number of animals and people, and in exchange, they would help us, even if it was kept from the general world public. And I think that is the big box that we are in, and that there are power brokers. It serves the power brokers not to have the general population told the truth.
But that's one of the things.
Yesterday, I'll just finish here. Kathleen Marden in this interview said that the non-humans are extremely concerned about where humans are right now in terms of both being kept ignorant and the weaponization. They are at two ends of the human spectrum on this planet. If everyone at the same time is told we are not alone in this universe, we have had interactions from other intelligences for at least 270 million years. The planet is looked at as a laboratory. We are one of the products, but it is now time for this product to stand on its own 2 feet, and that we are either going to sink or we are going to swim, depending upon if we can get past our violence.
Yeah,
and I think there are ETs trying, even making hybrids that are less violent, trying to switch this very valuable, incredible species. And that's Kathleen feels the same way, that humans are looked at as something extraordinary, but we are very difficult and very violent.
Well, thank you, Linda. I was going to ask Whitley about that too, because I think Whitley is probably the most experienced contactee that I've met, that I know. He's somehow, I'm speaking for you, Whitley, has created a lucid awareness of his interaction. So what is the new world? Could it be what Linda's saying? Or is it more about us, Whitley, about us ready to go into the unknown, ready to embrace something? Yeah, go ahead.
I laid out my thoughts about it in my book, A New World, right, which is, of course, the title is taken from Colonel Corso's statement, and it is dedicated to Colonel Corso. And
And I want to say the chapter in my book is an excerpt from A New World, that Whitley's contribution. So yes, go ahead.
yeah.
Whitley.
So I think that the situation we are in is very complex and ambiguous and also very unsure. And in other words, we don't have all the facts. And it's extremely important to be very, very careful about not drawing conclusions that we can't support with certainty. But here's what I know from my life and from what has become a long life with the visitors, and also a considerable amount of study and research, in particular in the close encounter phenomenon. What happened between sometime in the 60s and into the late 90s and early 2000s, more sporadically after about 1995, were these abductions. They're not often reported now. They are reported. We do get reports, and others get reports too, but not frequently, not like it used to be. And in the 70s, apparently, it was just going absolutely very intensely in early 80s, because Ann and I got hundreds of thousands of letters with detailed descriptions. But what were the people describing? First, they were describing a lot of very high strangeness events. On the physical level, they were describing what happened to us. They were describing the removal of semen and eggs and fetuses. And that happened. We had all three things happen to us as well. And why would you do that? You would do that because it gets back to what Linda said, that somebody is attempting to hybridize this species, right, apparently, or they are making a sort of seed bank. I'm not sure. However, I'm not so sure about the success of the hybridization, because back in 1995 or 6, a very strange man began living behind our house in upstate New York in the woods. He was he was short. At first, when I first saw him, I thought he was a little boy. And I went up to warn him about smoking near these pitch pines, which are very flammable trees in the woods behind our house. And when I got close to him, it was obvious that it wasn't a little boy, that I was dealing with something much stranger. And because he looked more like someone who had reached about the age of 11 in terms of his physical maturity and stopped maturing, but continued to get older. And it was a very odd, it was very odd, like a child who had aged without maturing. So it frightened me, frankly, and he made a sound that was rather ominous, and I went back to the cabin. And after that, we realized that he was actually smoked all the time, and when the air was still, you would smell it in the house, and it was awful. Then we left the cabin. We were forced to leave because we ran out of money, and we went to Texas. And I'm in Texas now, and just yesterday I drove past the apartment, little condo where we lived, and I looked at it and looked at the little cul-de-sac where he had stood in the night, and he would stand there, and I could feel him coming into my mind. And I had put lights up, motion sensitive lights up, and he couldn't handle that, and he left eventually. But he was a very disturbed and individual in trouble. He was like, he had a very, very schizophrenic affect to him. And he was with these two men who were the most bizarre people I've ever encountered. They were absolutely terrifying. They exuded a sense of evil. And I have to tell you, if that's what we're looking forward to, watch out.
Well,
because
that could have been a bad batch of the hybrids, right?
Why did they leave him in my backyard then? In any case, it changed slowly over the years. And as I became more and more dedicated to the pursuit of the good, to the pursuit of love, compassion, and humility in my own life, and unpacking my life as best I could in great detail to find where I could further those things, those three things, my relationship with this also changed. And now it is, I would say, beautiful and incredibly productive. So there's been an arc. And I think that is an arc that this species, that mankind can follow. But we can't do it if we start out shooting. I mean, you know, we got cowboys out there with 6 guns, and they've been shooting for a long time. Linda knows a lot about the Air Force and its problems. And over the course of the summer, there's going to be a lot of stuff released.
Yeah.
If it's largely going to come from the Navy and from perhaps some of the alphabet agencies, but it's not going to come from the Air Force, as far as I know now. They don't intend to release anything, even though they are they're under a legal compulsion. I don't think they really care. And the reason is that they only have bad news. They've been fighting these things for years and haven't gotten anywhere with it. They can't control it at all. Their job is to control, to protect us from threats from above, and they can't do it. And they keep it secret, therefore. So go ahead, Alan.
No, I want to get into what's coming up, and I want to just ask the Hurtaks, because you mentioned one type of species, and it could be the hybrid, but JJ and Desiree are in contact with many levels, which we also have to include if we're talking about other species. What's that you're showing us, JJ?
What they call the tall gray that was seen in the Kalahari area of South Africa, also in Brazil, where John Mack and I worked years ago, seeming to be very positively disposed towards children, young people. None of the above, which some people would consider to be jargon from Air Force people who are interested in separation rather than issues of compatibility and unity with the majority of so-called cosmic intelligent forces or entities.
Right. Well, that's just the complexity of everything that we've been talking about. And one of the reasons I think that the government has not released it is because it's not only, as Whitley said, they can't protect our airspace or us. Maybe they've even done negotiations to allow it. If you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and you know, that was done by really J. Allen Hynek. He understood a lot of what was going on. He understood the consciousness linkage, or the Richard Dreyfuss. And he also understood the whole thing of some of the, we'll say, military younger personnel going on board and being taken places. I mean, maybe it's through jump gates instead of a vehicle. That vehicle scene was like great for Hollywood. But there's really a complexity. And I also go back to my friend Virgil Armstrong, who was actually with the CIA, passed away now, but he wrote a book that they need us, we don't need them. And then you look at something like Dan Bursch, who supposedly was working as a microbiologist at
Area 51.
And he actually was able to go in and dialogue with what he claims, and others we talked to also claimed it was alien intelligence there. And he said some of them were not in the best shape, that they actually had a neuropathy, because if they've been cloning and cloning and cloning, you know, they may need some upgrading, so to speak. And we haven't been cloning ourselves, and they maybe can take some of that. And I'm not saying that what Linda was saying about those who want to help us by creating hybrids is not true. There's just a multiplicity of alien intelligence out there. And I think it was one guy, Buchanan, in the film Hidden Hand, that says, you know, there's 4 types. Some want to help, some want to kill us, and the rest of us, you know, them just want to watch and see what we're doing. You know?
So we need a whole new textbook on anthropology, biology. We're waking up in a vast and awesome universe, realizing our planet is a schoolhouse. As Linda said, there are many different experiments taking place, and it's foolhardy to think they all are under one criteria of science.
Right. Well, I want to add the biggest thing when Linda and Whitley talk about a new world, it is a shift in consciousness. Our our view of reality is shifting as these beings, good, bad, or indifferent, come into our view. There's a distortion in the field of normalcy. And we've already been through this in the last,
Sure is.
right? We've already been through this distortion with the COVID crisis. That is a prelude to how much our reality is going to change when we really meet these beings. And Linda, in her citizens hearings for UFO disclosure in Washington, talked about one of these soldiers that were put face to face with an ET, and wasn't a pretty conscious guy, just a kind of ordinary, private, I guess, and then he had this overlay of so many different realities into his awareness. He could not stay lucid or consciousness. That's why I always mention Whitley's lucidity in practice. But this is the new world I feel we're coming into, the world of an altered consciousness. Yeah, Linda.
He fainted. And he had been told by his superior officer that this was a mission. They wanted him to have the experience of the telepathic download. They told him he would faint. He said, you know what? Swear words.
Right.
And I'm not going to faint in front of an extraterrestrial that's 3.5 feet tall. And
he did.
When all of the telepathy started, the way he told me, he said, Linda, it was like having 5 or 7 full feature Hollywood movies going through his mind with temperature, with sensations of all sorts of things. So it was not just mental, it was sensation in his body reacting. And he said he began to realize that his brain was trying to ask questions, and that with every question that he felt like he was being assaulted, a new movie would come, so that the dialogue with the being in front of him was coming through image, feeling, sound, all of these overlays with gold symbols that he thought were Sanskrit, that were over all of the moving movies. And he did faint. And he went from standing up with all of this going through his head. His next memory, it was 4 or 5 hours later, and he was waking up where he had been placed on a bed, and his superior officer had told him that this would be too much. And this is why they wanted him to have the experience.
Well, so
but I wanted to address one other thing shortly.
Yeah.
The shift in consciousness. I don't know about you guys, but it started about 4 months ago. I began actively, and it was as if something was coming into me, not me sitting trying to drum up something. Could I see a little gray moving around my office? Could I imagine myself communicating my thoughts to a little gray that would do everything that I ask it to do, and that it would be somehow organic and artificial intelligence mixed together? And I began trying to see, how would I feel if I really thought that I could join my human life with grays? I started there. And I've now tried to imagine with a standing up lizard. I've tried with a standing up tall 8-foot Nordic or black hair or red hair, like mental exercises. That's never happened in the 42 years in which I started with animal mutilations. And it is a sense of not just mental manipulation for the challenge of it. It's as if something is coming in which all of these different types, some of them are going to be among humans. I did an interview with somebody who has been a long time abductee, and they said the same thing, that what they are being shown in their current dreams is that we will have grays or others on the planet among us. What none of us can figure out or anticipate is what is going to happen that will bring that into our reality past the mind crack of that headline. In other words, it feels like that's coming. It
Well,
feels like that will
I
happen.
think for some people it's come, like Whitley has.
Yeah, well,
yeah, go ahead, Whitley.
Yeah, I have. It has sort of come, frankly. I've gone a long way from my abduction experience in 1985 to now. And it's interesting that you say, Linda, that it's been 4 months, because that you've begun to change, because so have I, and over about the same period. And I've had, let me do this. The best thing I can do, I've opened my phone here and I've got a poem that I wrote after I was kissed in the night by someone. And I don't know who, whether it could have been one of the visitors or it could have been one of our dead who play a huge role in this. And we can forget the veil between the living and the dead, or the idea that the dead aren't there. They are, and the veil will drop for us when the grays come closer to us, or any of them, because none of them live with that veil. That's not existent in their worlds, and it's going to disappear in our world too. So here's the poem. Somebody kissed me. Deep last night, somebody kissed me. I am an old man and I live alone, but somebody kissed me. I'm not very pretty and was never very pretty, but they kissed me long. I wondered at their breath, soft, cool, and sweet as death. There was nobody here but me, there never is. But somebody kissed me. They kissed me long. The breath so soft, the lips so warm. I reached up into the air and found nobody there. But still they kissed me and kissed me long. An owl murmured, the leaves rustled, the curtains blew. The night left me behind, and the kiss did too. I threw back the sheet and wondered what to do. I don't belong to the sunlight and the day. I'm an old man and belong to the night. And that kiss, I belong to that kiss too. So that's my world now.
Beautiful. Thanks. You know, it does have to do with some of those elements of love and intimacy. And this is what the ultraterrestrials and the extracelestials that the Hurtaks talk about, expanding the heart to embrace what they call the B'nai Or. JJ, Desiree, talk. Wait.
All right. Well, going back again to what we wrote in the book, and I think what the book is really all about is the fact that there's a consciousness linkage. Whitley's had it many times with this. Linda has had many speakers or people she's talked to, and now also I think her own, I've sensed with this many times with you, Linda, also that deeper awareness. So once you've seen, even if you've just seen an extraterrestrial spacecraft, there seems to be, and in what Dr. Hurtak called in the 70s, the inductive linkage. I'll give an example. A friend of mine was actually doing experiments in the Bermuda Triangle. She was a marine biologist, and they actually encountered aliens. This is, of course, off the coast of Florida. And they told her a lot and things, but they also said certain things not to say. And she was back at a friend's house and she was talking. This was like 3 or 4 years later. And all of a sudden she was starting to say things she wasn't supposed to say. A shelf, which normally would have just collapsed, flew up with stuff on it and flew out. And she goes, I can't say anymore. So it's just an example that there's this connection, and it can be a higher connection or it can be a warning connection like she had. And I think this is what really we're all developing. And we're here in Sedona, and there's certainly like an opening that's taking place. People are flocking to places they feel comfortable with, to energies that they're starting to feel and really experience. healing energies, awareness,
Well,
awakening.
people are flocking to this seminar. We had 600 people signed up. That's a sort of big number for Portal to Ascension, just because we're talking about this. So there's a shift, JJ. Yes.
If I can continue with Nick Pope and others, there's a plethora of documents, thousands of pages of documentation, but it's keeping the ufology on simply a objective level of material objects. The greater change, as Linda has pointed out, and of course Whitley so beautifully, is the inner nature, the inner space that precedes the outer space. The inner subjective nature of humanity is beginning to wake up and smell the coffee and understand that we have to have a mind that can reach out with greater sensitivity to understand the levels of consciousness experience, which is part of what I will call the greater orientation that humanity is going through.
So I have to say, in addition to the hybrid abductions and things that we earlier talked about, I think there's a greater interconnectedness, like the kiss. I love that, Whitley. It was great.
It is beautiful, Whitley.
That they're actually trying to kiss us on a higher level to awaken our consciousness to share with them. I mean, you know, the hell with the government in that sense. They want to go directly,
Right.
some of them, the higher, what we call the higher beings, the extraterrestrials, and even higher levels of extraterrestrials, want communication. And they're just waiting for us to open our veil, and I'll use the same words that Whitley did, to see where we are and who we are. We believe we're actually cosmic beings. And that's one thing I always say on programs like this. You know, it may fly in the face of some ideas, but I think you're going to find us on other planets. I think we came here temporarily. We can say, you know, thousands of years ago or even millions of years ago, but you're going to find Adamic species, which is what we call ourselves from the work that Dr. Hurtak did with the Keys of Enoch, on other planetary systems. And we were just here as one of the planets, and we forgot who we were.
And Whitley, I like your figure of speech because you go back to the ancient Middle East and the ancient Arabic, or even Hebrew tradition is the lifting of the veil, the kiss between bride and bridegroom that initiates one to understand that the Adamic seed under the tradition of Abraham was destined to go to the stars. Daniel chapter 12 protects us from the so-called not so good influences from outer space by the arrival of the higher ETs, UTs, who provide us with true education and subjectively with a true psychology of love.
I just think it's interesting. We're all shifting, like Linda. Yeah, this is a new phase for you. I mean, talk about that, because there's a shift that's happening in the consciousness of the planet. Yes.
If I could, I'm going to share something. I received this only 2 weeks ago. The source, as far as I know, is truly an intel agency. And that the material that has been sent to me is from a report they were working on, but you will be surprised by the content. A study of what is the relationship of the human soul to this universe in terms of the machinery of this cosmos and how it works. And I'm going to put this pawn on the chessboard because when I read the material that I have now, it was as if pieces in a puzzle started dropping into my mind, that this is correct. And this is what I'm going to boil some stuff down. That the soul is a quantum field, and that the quantum field is linked to every neutrino, the smallest particle throughout the entire, let's just say universe, and no, it could be complex. I just mean it is the implicate order writ large, but suddenly an explanation of the soul, not as a philosophy, not as a poem, but that the soul is a quantum energy field, and that the quantum energy field has a shape, and that shape of that quantum energy field is designed to go into a variety of organic containers, access information into that quantum energy field, leave the organic and go into a large system where the quantum field, the whole quantum field, we'll call it the divine field, like the ultimate quantum field, keeps having contributions of all of this quantum energy, field energy, from an infinite number. So that suddenly, as I was reading this incredible material, I had this sudden image or feeling, or that it's like a breathing in and a breathing out of an entire infinite field that keeps growing and evolving from all of these quantum field energy souls that are out in every possible universe, every possible dimension, every possible timeline, taking it all back so that the entire huge, the biggest box of all, keeps growing, expanding, and evolving because of the quantum energy souls that gather information and take it back.
Right.
And it's from a government study.
And so we agree with you wholeheartedly, Linda. And we often talk about the non-local field, which is really, people think about the consciousness field that Lynn McTaggart talks about, that it's just planetary, but it's not. It's cosmic. And in addition to being three-dimensional cosmic or the universe, it's also multi-dimensional. And this is really, one could call it the universal mind, the divine mind.
The ancients call it the new sphere, the higher mind of consciousness that expands in the infinite way. And that was
and a quick footnote, it would tie into what Whitley said about why is it? And Leo Sprinkle told me this all the way back when I was working on A Strange Harvest and animal mutilations. There is a relationship between the non-humans and those that pass from life to death.
Well,
Very definitely.
And this quantum energy soul moving and in through it all, constantly giving information, which suddenly for me, it brings that the dead are not extinct. They have moved into another quantum energy.
Yeah,
that they can exchange here.
when we realize that we are in-souled beings walking around in this piece of flesh, this piece of earth, when we realize that that's the bigger reality than our personality and then our bodies, we will meet, I think, those beings, the non-humans and the dead, and all those in-souled beings that seem to be right here, right around us, but we've been so trained to limit our perspective that we don't notice it, but they are right here. That's my feeling.
The Christian mystics and Nag Hammadi in Egypt thought of people being in a state of sleep, not death.
Right.
And they needed, as it were, a spiritual awakening through the divine spirit to awaken them to the next chapter of life.
And Alan, I was going to say, one of your other writers, Carolyn Corey, who's a friend of yours, actually has seen this on a regular basis, right? That these beings are just on the other side of the veil, one could say, or the other dimension.
I think Whitley, you've seen it personally, directly in your relationship, Whitley, right?
Oh yeah, and this is a very, very complex situation. I'm not so sure that I think that there are going to be elements of it that are very strange, some that are going to be very aggressive, and that are over time that we're not going to want around us, and that we may be helpless to prevent. But at the same time, if my life is any example of what this might be like over time, eventually it comes out into it turns into something that you can really use in your own journey. Because my God, you can't imagine the amount of information I've gotten. I put as much of it as I could in my books, but the veil between the living and the dead broke down as soon as Anne passed on, and we started working together, and we still work together to this day. It's she's not physically present, but she is certainly very much a part of my life experience and my work. The book we just finished, Jesus, A New Vision, it's her new vision in my writing. And it's extraordinary that this is a new way of living.
Well,
now, just let me finish just a second, Alan.
Yep,
the
sure.
other side of this coin, though, is all of the battles and shooting that have gone on in this world between, I think, largely the U.S. Air Force and someone out there who's perfectly willing to shoot back. And that's a level of it that's there. It's there. And we can't ignore it. And we can't ignore the fact that the abductions and other things that happened along those lines were not gently done. I mean, I was treated very violently, like an animal we might treat an animal. And you have to really reflect on that whatever is here is not necessarily going to be easy for us to deal with, but will it be worth it to find this new world? I think so. I think it definitely will. And I don't think if we don't get a handle on this and find it, I don't think this species has much of a chance of surviving.
I agree completely. That is the message that comes, whether I'm dealing with military, whether I'm dealing with intel, whether I'm dealing with experiencers, whether I'm dealing with scientists. I know somebody who's working in a really, really outstanding university, and we've been able to communicate privately, and they are absolutely dealing with the hybrid question. And it comes up all the time. Are we at an intersection in which, depending upon what let's take it to the quantum fields of the human souls. Can the human souls pressure, get humanity to move into where we can have dialogue with each other about souls and interactions with the universe? Because if we can't, then I think that the hybrids are waiting in the wing, but that some non-humans do not want this to happen. They have some vested interest in us being able to evolve. And that was the message in my third book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, in which I had 6 people who had the experiences with what they jokingly called the resurrection technology, but it's very serious and it's used all the time. And that is where you take cells and they can do a full-blown adult in tubes that are sustained by light. And that they came away, all of the humans came away from their experiences with this as the bottom line. Your soul must be in a certain container for a certain length of time. And that in this difficult human world, that they are always having to interfere to the extent that they must make some of these soul transfers into clone bodies in order to match some other bigger request or order, that the souls are the reason we are here. The souls in the human evolving lives are what are important. And once you start looking at every single entity, whether they're reptilian, gray, Nordic, orange, blue, and
human,
beyond,
right?
then suddenly that bones the implicate order. That's the whole fabric that we're playing on. That's the important part.
Well, I want to bring a perspective of someone who's actually been beyond this world. He's Dr. J.J. Hurtak actually is one of the few who have left this world with his body, got a soul revelation, I feel, and has come back. And his mission for the last, I guess, since 1973 is to do exactly what you, Linda, and Whitley are saying, expand the soul quality of who we are. JJ, do you want to talk about your experiences? Because that gives a bigger perspective to anything trans-terrestrial, about
Yeah, it's the
Thank
bottom
you.
line.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Alan, for asking. Most of you know me as a low-profile social scientist, but in 1973, using certain energy mantras and achieving a state of hyperventilation, a light was placed around my body from a higher source, and I was biolocated into another space from which I was spiritually taken yet into a higher dimensional space and given scenario abstracts or scientific insights into our evolution. And of the more than 64, 36 have come to pass, including the year 2004, including the name of the vice president, including others. Again, this information was privately studied by colleagues on very high levels. I won't go into details,
But
but
talk about the soul level, JJ.
soul level was to understand that we are here to be trained really as vessels of love and light to upgrade humanity. And to that end, we are given opportunities through our life, through the opportunities of soul growth, to expand our consciousness and realizing there's one human being on the planet and we're all part of that human Adamic creation, to use biblical terminology. The Adam and Eve story continues, and we're all part of this. Now, a lot of people are looking for the smoking gun, physical technology from other worlds, but the real smoke is really the energy of the human heart. The sacred heart of the Christ figure is, in my humble opinion, the real drama of how we wake up into divine human partnership, realizing we are spiritual beings in human form, educating a world that's basically asleep. And to that end, Desiree and I have quietly published documents and shared with world leaders information that's quite significant, including the release of documents on the pyramids of Mars in 1973, including other areas that were beyond the scientific frontier by decades. The point is that we're not here to build a new religion or a new science, but to bring spirituality and science into balance. The Alpha and Omega that John the Divine speaks of is really something that I can testify to as a real event, that we will be sharing a cosmic frontier with the host of light that realize that we are here to grow into a biophotonic body of light. We are ultimately to become whole light beings, or beings of greater light and purpose in the next chapter of life. And to that end, we're here really to welcome those who come in the name of peace. In terms
Well,
of
what does that have to do with extraterrestrials is the question.
Yeah.
What-
Well, I think it's important in terms of extraterrestrials to realize that, there's a cosmic life all over the universe. Alan, you and I talk about that everywhere. There's life forms, different life forms. In terms of this planet, we're at a certain phase. I believe that the reptilians used to run this planet, millions of years ago, and then we came in to run it, and who knows who's going to be the next if it continues on as it is. I mean, right now we have 54 volcanoes going off around the world. So I think that's one of the reasons Dr. Hurtak was shown in his experience, that they are concerned about us, not just because of us, whacking ourselves from nuclear or whatever, but also because the planet is no longer as stable as it should be. So that's something either we can fix or we're going to have to deal with on a more individual basis. With that said, you can talk about all this, and I always love when Linda brings up the concept of soul, and I'm so happy that that comes into her research, because in a certain sense, we see ourselves as biotransducers, which means whatever we're thinking, we can bring in from the cosmos, or we can also put it out into the cosmos.
through soul development, SOUL.
And so this is some of the evolutionary growth. Every moment is a moment of choice, technically, for how we function.
In our cosmology, the extraterrestrials really are those forces that are testing, as it were, the whole experiment of Mother Earth with the different levels of experimentation. They are working with the finer details, but they are experimental life forces, or gods with a small g, and not confused with the ultraterrestrials, which deal with the divine source.
But I'm just saying, as we have this conversation, is this what the government, the disclosure, what's coming in June, is that what makes it so hard? That's why they waited 75 years or more to tell us that there's this element, this this cognitive shift, this ensoulment that needs to go along if we're really going to understand the phenomena. Do you
Let
think
me
so?
give you one example. When I was with Dr. Heineck in Brazil, we were talking to General Ochoa, who was a pious Christian. He said, what is missing in all of this, you Americans, to leave out the spiritual connection. And Alan said, I can't talk about this back home because people see me as a scientist.
Right.
But I was surprised at one major Congress in 1979, he said, the coming of the higher intelligence is like the return of Christ. He actually used these words. I was quite taken back that he would say this in a public forum. But nonetheless, he privately did meditate with us, and he saw through the Brazilian healers an aspect that awakened him to the realization that there are gifts of the divine spirit, of healing, of compassion, of understanding that have been completely ignored by intellectual religionists on one hand and skeptical scientists on the other.
And let's just go back to what Whitley said, and then maybe he'll pick this up. The experience of contact is much more multi-dimensional, multifaceted, and that it really does deal with these other realities, we say multi-dimensions, but other behind the veil. It's really, really complex. And I think the government knows this and really can explain it to the people.
Well, that could be why Whitley wrote his new book. Go ahead, Whitley. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's to a degree. That is my book, Jesus and New Vision, is a response to that. But I'd like to go back to something that JJ has referenced briefly, and I know very well, he knows a great deal about this, that we are asleep, that the species is asleep. And there's a 14th century poem called The Romance of Perforce, which became known as the Sleeping Beauty. And it's a famous fairy tale called The Sleeping Beauty. This is the story. This is the hidden story of what really happened to mankind. In the story, the beautiful young princess is cursed by an evil fairy. Now, the fairy lore is the alien lore of the lore of the Greys. The lore of the Greys is fairy lore recast in a modern vocabulary, so it's essentially about the same beings. And if you look back at our past, you can find when the curse happened. It happened about 12,000 years ago, when there was an enormous upheaval on this planet, and places that we can still see today, the fortress at Sacsayhuaman, the Nan Madol megaliths in the Carolinas, Göbekli Tepe, the Great Pyramid, and there's all kinds of the platform at Baalbek, all kinds of structures that were built by us when we had direct and instinctive connection to the physics of the universe through our conscious relationship to our souls that was severed, and which G.R. Gurdjieff, I've been a member of the Gurdjieff Foundation for most of my adult life, called the imposition of the organ Kunda buffer. That is to say, an organ that was imposed, or something that was imposed on us, that severed the energy of us from the energy of Kundalini, severed us from the energy of our planet. And that was done to us. Now, Jesus comes along, and there's another fairy in the fairy tale. This fairy is described now as the handsome prince. This prince comes along. He demonstrates with his life and his resurrection and departure the truth about what human beings really are and what our power really is that we have ceased to believe in. And then he says, unless you awaken, I will return as a thief in the night. In 1898, Secundo Pia takes a photograph of the Shroud of Turin, and for the first time, we see Jesus in his reality. Incredibly, this extraordinary being 2,000 years ago left us a photograph of himself in 1898 as this trajectory was becoming established and we were not awakening. He returned like a thief in the night.
Wow. Beautiful.
And the body sublimated into light. And in
Yes.
the Nag Hammadi is this sentence that stunned me the first time I read it. The thought that dwells in the light, the thought that dwells in the light, that is the all of infinity. That is the entire divine field. And it becomes palpable. It is thought. It is consciousness in every photon. And once you start moving into that, the soul is alive in your body every second. The idea that we have other intelligences that already understand the relationship between the photon, the light, the infinite thought that dwells there. Every photon is bringing us information.
That is why the shroud is such an important relic, because it is a snapshot of an illumination. I felt
that's exactly what it is.
Sublimation to light.
It's our potential. Well, the Hurtaks have really studied this subject up close.
And actually, we've seen the shroud twice in terms of 2 separate times when it was available to the public.
And you've seen the biophotonic energy around the face.
Oh, yeah.
Analyzed by Dr. Don Lynn at Jet Propulsion Lab, where I did some scientific work years ago. And there was the, of course, official STURP group, as it was called, that said, no, this was a medieval forgery, but
what happened?
No, the STURP didn't say
it's
that.
not.
Well, no, let me tell you the specifics on this, because we were on Coast to Coast, if anyone wants to go back and hear that. Basically, they took a piece of thread from the outside of the cloth, because you didn't want to take the inside of the cloth. And the cloth itself is linen. That's a flax fiber seed. And the outside had been repaired. They only realized it later, after they got the whole analysis back and had already published the analysis. The outside of the cloth was cotton. That means at a certain time, these French nuns or whatever had actually repaired it, so they had the wrong dating.
Well,
it's very important
the dating is a lie. It was not. It wasn't an accident. They did it on purpose because they cannot afford to have their worldview destroyed. They can't. And a true dating would have destroyed their worldview. Therefore, I go in Jesus and New Vision, I go into this in great detail. It is not a medieval forgery.
Right.
No, I believe that.
Whitley, can you share about the neutron analysis?
But before Whitley does that, I just want to say the reason this is coming up in this discussion is because this is our potential to activate our cellular structure to its biophotonic, and we need that mindset of that Christ consciousness in order to do that. And this is what the ETs, I think, are provoking us towards. This was John Mack's famous saying in the book that UFOs are like an outreach from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. That's us.
And he was such a great guy. When he would say that, there was so much joy and humor in his voice.
But this is exactly why we're having this discussion of human potential. This is what we're being pushed towards. Desiree, what were you saying?
No, I was just wanting to emphasize, the thread that they did the analysis on was not from the original cloth. It was from the outside of the cloth. That's so. But tell us, they knew that at the time. Actually, I have to say, because I know some of the people who were involved in that. It was really a mistake because the Catholic Church only wanted to give them the outside and not the inside.
But Desiree, tell us the parts of the shroud that had given you revelation about human potential. Talk about that.
Well, basically, it shows that there's as much light on both sides of the cloth. If you've ever seen it, the head's in the middle and the back of the head's on the other side of the middle, because it was literally wrapped around him, and it's equal. So it does show, and the Italians have actually come up and said, I think this is where you're going, Linda, and probably Whitley, that the only place that this could have happened was through types of nuclear bursts. And, you know, Dr. Hurtak feels going through the ultraviolet portion of the spectrum, where literally the matter became light once again.
So Dr. Ray Rogers at Los Alamos changed his position, came over to our position, that this is a genuine artifact. And in my experience, I've briefly seen, and don't be shocked if I say this, a momentary vision of Christ on the other side. I know that we will ultimately see that there is an authenticity to the whole story of why the shroud is behind, as a mirror of our light body to come. But we are being prepared to distinguish the human evolution from the higher evolution, the human experience from that which is transhuman, that's going into the light. And we are going to redefine the ontology of science and spirituality before this is through in the coming chapter of life.
Yeah, Whitley, what were you saying, Whitley?
Well, I was just thinking sort of thinking, responding to JJ and Desiree, we are a species in a birth canal. We're being born now, and we're going down the birth canal, and all of these entities that are around us, including our own dad, are the midwives. And, you know, being born is noisy and difficult, and you don't necessarily survive it, but hopefully we will. It's a very initiatory time in human life, and initiatory in the sense that we are being forced to look at ourselves in such a way that we have no choice but to either see the truth or fall off a cliff. It's a sink or swim time. And that's why the abduction phenomenon is essentially an initiatory phenomenon. And some people respond to it and others don't. The visitors were probably using the material for their own purposes, as we discussed earlier. But the person who was exposed to this experience had an initiatory, it was initiated in the sense that their whole understanding of who they were and what the world is was just ripped away, and they were faced with something entirely new. I mean, personally, at first it really pissed me off, but I've gotten used to it. And every single person on this panel, and most of you out there watching and listening, have been initiated in one way or another. I'll tell you what happened to Linda. Linda was initiated when she first looked down on a mutilated animal and thought, my God, what in the world are we facing? And thought that in her own mind, all alone out in that field.
Right.
Well, this is exactly what the new world, if we can take it, is about. It's like we're in a world that we can't imagine from the old self that we were. This is the new world. If we can take it, we have to change individually and as a human species, and we have to realize we are light frequencies. This goes back to Linda, even before her cattle mutilation initiation, she had a light vision initiation, which I think put you on the path of searching.
At age 21.
Yes, you got.
In the entire everything in front of me, behind me, above me, everywhere, it was pulsing light. And to stand where you are seeing the shapes of trees, the shapes of flowers, the shapes of mountains, and they're all pulsing orchid white light. And after it all rheostats back down, I was left with, this is what is behind the matter. But it was not until 2 years ago that I had the Nag Hammadi in my hands and turned to that page in which it talked about the thought that dwells in the light. That is the connection to the pulsing light. That is the connection to the quantum soul. And it is bone, all mass is frozen light.
You see,
My God, when you start looking at everything through that lens, it's hard to believe that there could be wars.
Well, that is the subtext of this book making. Can you hold it up, Desiree? Because it's not about ETs as much as it is about who we are. There it is. As who we are as human beings. This is what I wanted to weave into each of these chapters as I strung them together. We are not who we've been told. We are not the people we've been educated or programmed by our media, our religions, our politics. There's so much more vastness to the human mind and the human soul that people have been saying. This is how we, I feel, meet those beings on equal ground. They may be more intelligent intellectually or more technologically advanced, but they are not a greater soul essence. And when we realize that, then we could be at peace with whoever we confront. So that's why I think this is where all the discussions have to go. And this is why the government, I think, can't go there, because they're not willing to. Yes,
they don't. No, they're at a certain level, and their level is very important.
Right.
And this has to unfold at that level too.
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to unfold at first at that level, and that's the level of material objects and so forth. And there are certain material objects that I hope end up in the Smithsonian, frankly, but I don't know if they'll come out or not. I mean, one of the problems is that some of the most interesting stuff is held by the Air Force, and as I understand
military
it,
weapons, yeah.
And as I understand it now, they're not participating in anything related to disclosure.
I remember years ago, Whitley, that I brought back a piece of metal from Brazil that I turned over naively to my friends in the Air Force for analysis.
And you never
did
saw
a
it.
private analysis at IBM, and Marcel Vogel and my colleagues felt it was definitely something far beyond the metallurgical capability of Earth scientists.
And if we can go back to Colonel Corso, one of the things he was teaching us in his book is that it's really not the military's secrets anymore. They've actually turned it over to corporations. And I think that that's a very interesting side to things too, that even though the military might release certain information, the real technology has been given to hands of corporation. They're not under any, we'll say, higher thing to be able to have to release that information.
No, they don't have to. And in fact, I think, I'm guessing that one of the problems probably is that, in terms of releasing more information, is that some corporations have been given very valuable information and material, and other corporations competing in the same space didn't get that. And the result is that if that ever comes out, then there's going to be unbelievable lawsuits. An absolute chaos of lawsuits is gonna emerge. That would be what I would think. And anyway, on the physical and totally technological and non-spiritual level, this is one thing. And then the farther up you go from Einstein called matter energy slowed down. And Linda referred to it as some energy stopped entirely. And as far as you go from the energy that stopped entirely in the weapons and war worlds up into energy that is slowed down, and then energy that is going faster and faster until you reach the Jesus energy, where he accelerated back into light. And left us with a message that we can too. Yeah. And he's not the only one who ever did it. One of the greatest lies ever told is that Jesus was a God, when he is and was and is a man, in a human being in all of his human truth and reality. That's what we all are. His teaching was, I am you.
Mhm.
I am you.
Yeah, but the disconnect here, I think, is the government, starting at square one, and then where we are at the other end of the spectrum, in a sense. How does that bridge to the average person, who I think it's not up to the government to tell us that they're about making contact. It's up to them opening their minds to that possibility.
Well, I think probably one of the reasons for the secrecy is that they haven't succeeded very well in making contact, and they haven't because there's no there there. You know, they don't have the right tools.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I always thought that that Steven Spielberg movie was sort of a failure because, you know, it's basically a bunch of guys packing their toothbrushes and going to another planet.
Right.
It's not gonna happen that way, believe me.
Well,
Especially with dark
how is it
glasses.
going to happen, Whitley? If you think, I mean, how would you think it's going to happen when they?
Oh, it will come from within us. We will find our way. And I don't think that we're going to find our way anytime soon physically. I don't think that the physical world is the primary place where this is unfolding. You will find, if you look, you will find inside yourself the way you need to go in order to draw yourself toward the light on that very ancient journey that is portrayed so eloquently in the pyramid text, in the Pyramid of Unas, when it talks about the spine being a column of light, and the Taniter, the seven smaller serpents of light surrounding it and drawing the experience of life into it and thus into the soul. Understanding this and living this, and are like Linda does, communicating with the light every morning after she wakes up. This is where we need to go, and they will amplify this. The contact is going to be a process not of seeing aliens walking down the street, but of amplifying our presence in the light in such a way that we can meet them on their terms and on ours equally.
I agree. JJ, what were you going to say?
Well, I like what Whitley said. I would say, in my perspective, the Christ figure, as Yeshua, represents the Homo Deus, the God or the divine within the human form. And our dialectic is to move us into the realization that we are divine humans waking up. We are embryo gods waking up to that cosmic potential of using the gifts of the mind and spirit together. The higher soul, neshama, as we know it in Hebrew, is that expansiveness to work collectively, to help humanity go beyond simple bootstrapping of new science into the dynamic that this is an age of miracles, an age of fantastic information downloads that can be used positively and correctly if we have the right love and light vibration working together in harmony, toxic concordia.
But most importantly, we're not alone in this. I think it's not it's an individual thing, but it's also not only collective here, but a collective there. So there's those who want to help us, to give us the information we need, to be at the right place at the right time, to have the wisdom, the knowledge.
And that's why I went to Jet Propulsion Lab to talk to Dr. Don Lin, who developed the image enhancement technology to show the three-dimensionality of the face of Christ, because I was given details of what would be found within the cloth itself that were not known in 1973 nor in 1977 when the Stirp Committee took place. The recent work of Italian, German, and Greek scientists has shown there are other details. You can see the other letters in the cloth itself that have come through image enhancement of the Greek, the Hebrew, the Latin. I was given one of the clues to find a certain geometric form under the chin, which was found. So in a sudden burst of energy, I realized that this was also a validation of the blueprint that I was given, that we were a Christed humanity waking up in a vast and awesome universe to take the way of the light rather than the darkness.
But why? I mean, as Whitley, everyone here has said, that is our destiny. It has been such a difficult, arduous challenging. Maybe that's the reason, to build soul strength. I mean, and it's a simple road, but there's all these obstacles or challenges. Is that really what the human path is about, meeting those challenges?
I'd love
A
to hear from
new
Linda,
world if you can take it, Alan.
but choices are important. Choices are key.
But it seems it's so simple. It seems like there's so much more complex than just saying that. Maybe that's just my mind saying it, because there's all these levels of being, like as Linda said, the good, the malevolent, the benevolent, and the indifferent. And we are being asked, just as earth beings like Jesus, to come into our true divinity. And then it doesn't matter if there's ETs or not, because we are of the light. We are beings of higher consciousness.
As the great astrophysicist Paul Davies said, the world is ripe for life itself. It is favorably disposed to life in all of its forms and variations. And we're suddenly realizing we need this new textbook of biology, zoology, but also a textbook of the Christ-centeredness of life itself, as we have experienced in the Western tradition, of realizing that we are the celebrants. We're not just to be the followers, but we are the celebrants of a much higher story of partnership.
And that day in the mountain with everything pulsing in light, I can feel it right now, that something warm and sort of like the substance of Jello lifted my own arms and hands up in front of me. Mm-hmm. And as my hands got up about right here, and I'm looking, both astonished, but not ever was I afraid that something else was doing this, not me. And as my hands came up, it was telepathic. It was the thought that dwells in the light. And what came into my mind as clear as can be, you are one with the light is one with you, and you are in the hands of God forever. Mm-hmm.
Right. And
what could be more clear about the ultimate relationship of the animating force of organic life than that the pulsing light, I am one with the light, that in the end, all of it is pulsing light.
Well, I think this has been the path of initiation since the mystery schools of the past, since Egypt and Greece. But I do think with the ET edition, there's something else that's being asked of us as human beings. It's like as if the whole dimension itself is rising to a new level. It's not just, yes, initiation as Jesus or the ancients or the people building the rainbow body or the light body. It's like a vibration of the unknown that is beckoning all of existence to the next level, not just human beings, but all of creation. That's
all of and yes, it's so important to understand this is not just a human thing.
Yeah.
This is a planetary thing. The whole planet is involved. The solar system, the sun, the relationship between sun and earth. All of this is involved. And when we look at this planet, and I believe JJ made an allusion to this a little earlier, the way it is, the way the moon and the earth relate to one another, and the way they in turn relate to the sun, and how it is that the gas giants in the outer solar system protect the inner planets, including us, from the constant barrage of debris from space. If those gas giants weren't there, we wouldn't be here. If the moon was not just where it is, there would be orbital winds on Earth so strong that nothing complex would ever have arisen here. Mm-hmm. And another thing, why, when the moon eclipses the sun, is it perfectly in balance? Yes.
Well, I think it's a man-made, or I think it was placed there. It was
It is a
placement
machine. It is a
for our
machine.
evolution.
It is a
machine.
machine, a life machine designed to draw life out of the planet. And it did that and does that.
Because we humans and all creatures are moving, are important, are somehow special for this vaster mind to wake up to itself. Maybe something is waking up, and I think we're just a part of that bigger picture.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know, when you have a baby, I love kids. I'm very happy to have kids in my life. A little one looks at the world like this. He looks.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be, because that's where we are. And someone, whoever took our past from us, did us an extraordinary favor, because we have the chance to see everything anew. And the Linda's moment of awakening is a precious example of what that can mean. It wasn't an initiatory moment. An initiatory moment is when the rug's pulled out from under you. That was later. but the awakening, the energy of that awakening came to you from before your soul, before your body even existed, and will stay with you always. And all of us can find an awakening in our life. Maybe not as dramatic and as that, but it's there. And if you look back on your life and you say to yourself, I can't see any moment of awakening for me, guess what just happened? You just had one as soon as you saw that.
so we can't wait for the government to say, okay, this is your moment, planet Earth. They're never going to.
I don't think about them very much.
Well,
I
they're not
love
going to.
the ones I know that are in there, but I don't. They're not the central. The government and the media and all of that thing is fine, and it goes on, as far as I'm concerned, in the background.
But they're not going to tell us how making contact, like I say in this book, is an inside job. It's
It's so beautiful.
It's up to us. It has to be up to us, because there is no official reality. But that's the programming. That's our conditioning, the box we've been put in, that it's going to make it okay if the government says there are UFOs, the ETs are real. That's one level. But we are taking, since the quantum physics revolution, we know that reality is subjective, and we have to make that true for each one of us. You know,
do you guys think that the ETs, if there are a trillion of them, wouldn't they all be essentially faced with the same dynamic of light is the bottom line? And if you're in organic matter, that's one experience. If you're in crystal inorganic matter, that all of it is possible, because the entire true landscape is pulsing light that relates, and that the pulsing light it is the thought that dwells in the light. It's responsible for it all.
JJ really had a vision of this. JJ, do you want to talk about?
In the Keys of Enoch, the book I wrote in 73, it says, matter is gravitationally trapped light. And we're here to remodulate our consciousness. And as we do, we can reprogram our DNA, RNA. We can begin to grow with a sense of inner joy and celebration that God's plan has no end. It is life in the house of many mansions, or the many different levels of the divine human experience. And I can simply say this: it's a joy, Alan, that you brought us all together to look at the many levels of what's involved here, because this is a cosmology of consciousness.
Yeah.
It will take some time for those who are new at deciphering, but in essence, the word is spreading throughout the world that we're not alone. This can be a great chapter of humanity, of a great leap forward or a great leap backward, if we take the wrong clues and begin to show weapons of mass destruction rather than collective consciousness of love forgiveness.
I don't,
insight.
I do not think it will be allowed. That is why I think there is an existential potential in the future if this difficult species does not start moving toward light. And that may sound like a fairy tale, but I think that's it.
And
We
how do
have
we do
got as
that,
a
Linda?
species to
How
go
do we
light.
how do we move towards the light, in your opinion?
That I think when Whitley said earlier in the program, there is some kind of revolutionary change that seems to be being forced upon us. And in a way, it is the vibration, the interaction, the resonance is with our soul, with that quantum, more than it is with the material in organic biology. And that if enough of the souls in the organic containers on this planet start getting that vibration with the thought that dwells with the light, it may be that what will happen is something that is more organic than superimposed. And I think that's exactly what in abduction case after abduction case, and Kathleen would agree, in this whole huge box of other consciousnesses in other bodies, they are hoping, trying to see that it will be organic, it will be an evolution. And maybe it is that right now, our very quantum soul is beginning to vibrate with something that is being, I'm going to say, if I say superimpose, that sounds too harsh. Something is maybe directing the thought that dwells in the light at our planet. And some of us are really beginning to feel it. I feel it. I feel something completely different. And the idea that we would then begin to move toward artificial intelligence on our own planet that Elon Musk is warning so much about, maybe on the other side of us trying to go into AI is that the gray AI will be something where it meets a twilight zone. We will have a need, they have it, and that it will be the artificial intelligence of the grays that will be the meeting ground on this planet.
I don't know.
Desiree, they already told us all about themselves. They have that in them already. In Bolton, they indicated that their DNA contains both silicon and carbon. Silicon is that indicates that there is an artificial element in them. It's a crystal. We have free will, and we are so malleable because we are carbon. When you add silicon to it, there is something there that is no longer malleable, but is perfect in the sense that it will calculate everything perfectly. And this is why when I've been with the visitors and there have been utterances, there has been such an extraordinary combination of the most powerful emotions I have ever heard and the most perfectly mechanical delivery of the sound. It's because they are a mix. They don't just have artificial intelligence on the outside. Their bodies are artificial and natural combined.
We're going from
hybrids
carbon-based evolution to silicon-based evolution.
Yeah, and even to light evolution ultimately. But what I wanted to say, going back to your question, Alan, is I think all the information we're able to grasp in terms of our own next phase of light process. But as Whitley just said, we all have free will. So it really does boil down to a choice every moment of what are we doing with who we are. Are we going to choose the light over the darkness? Are we choosing the positive thoughts over the individual thoughts, the collective versus the individual? This is what a lot of the early Coptic Christians were talking about, the self-willed versus the collective will. These are all things that we have to choose every moment. And
when we do, we see the great transformation before us.
Yeah,
what was there on the Mount of Transfiguration is also our story.
Mm.
Moses, Jesus, and Elijah, the cosmic law, the cosmic vehicle, the cosmic man of the divine light, all representing the triad.
And I want to say, I think, you know, this may fly in the face also of Whitley's experience, but I think we're all equals. I think we may not be equal in terms of technology to the Greys or even the mental power to the Greys, but in terms of the soul power that
I agree with that.
I
I think
agree
we're equal.
totally. I don't think it
Yes.
flies in the face of my experience at
agree.
all.
No, we are soul being. We have to realize that we're equal on that soul level. One other thing, I think the hybrids, and I think a lot of us actually are mixed of whatever these beings are trying to get that balance between that that silicon base and that carbon base to be more creative, more expansive, more mind transformative, using our creative will to create more of reality, create more newness, create more emotions to feel. And I want to say, I heard this this contactee, this woman, Anjali, she was a government agent and she was on Clubhouse, and I'm going to have her on my show next Wednesday. And she went through this sort of near death or this very serious illness where the beings started to appear to her. And they said to her, and she'll tell it on my show, this is our time. We have to go into transcendence. And there are other races coming here to help us or challenge us with that. But she says, the great thing she said the other day was, we have to imagine almost that this bigger field is out there. But she said, you have to fake it until you make it, but it's not faking it. It's just projecting from our awareness that we are in a much vaster universe. And it's exactly like feeling the crispness of beings, deities, of consciousness out there in the world. I'm looking out at the Sedona Mountains, and I could just expand out there to feel there's so much more that's pulsating through the air to us. It's a sort of imagining, but it's a sort of feeling embodiment. And when I had that feeling the other day, it's like there was a shift in my consciousness or a shift in the world.
This is part of your work also with Neil here with remote viewing. I know you've done some classes on Portal to Ascension. The remote viewing, that's how they function as well, to be able to see.
It's using that creative mind to consider greater possibilities. So we're coming on the hour, and there's been lots of chats and on YouTube and is there anything else, Whitley, from your book in particular, where you wrote a whole book about this ordinary person that changed into the light and learn certain lessons to help us all evolve as well? What else can you add to what's been said here, Whitley?
Well, the story of Jesus is the story of his Beatitudes. We had the 42 laws of Ma'at, which are essentially things you mustn't do. Then we had the 10 commandments, which are evolved from the 42 laws of Ma'at. And these are things that mostly that you mustn't do and some things that you must do. Then we have the Beatitudes, which tell us about what certain people in certain states will receive. And it's a completely different vision. When you work toward and on behalf of and for and become part of the good, you see behind those Beatitudes and you see how your life can make them true in other lives and your own. This is the journey. This is the journey toward the good. And this is the energy that drew him into the light and right out of that tomb. And this is where we all are going if we can take it.
JJ, what do you? Wait,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
In Hebrew, this is known as the Yom Or, the day of graduation. And Schoolhouse Mother Earth is facing the day of graduation to the Cosmic University. And I allowed you, Whitley, for saying that. I love the parables because they speak of what we can do and how we are being, shall we say, prepared to go into this great transition of recognizing the divine spark within all of us. We have to celebrate it. We have to sublimate it. We have to share it with a sense of joy and purpose, and not go back to the old darkness of trying to hide from the greater reality that God's plan has no end. In the ancient languages, it is the Shamayim, the many heavens, the many glorious cultures. And we're beginning to understand this now as we go with a new roadmap into the future. And this book, Making Contact, is the first stage of, I think, a greater orientation that all of us need to do. I will say, in addition to this book, another book that Desiree and I are part of from Stanford Research Institute called Mind Dynamics in Space and Time is scientifically showing the power of remote viewing, remote sensing, remote healing. These are what the ancients called the gifts of the Holy Spirit. We are in an age where the new science, the future science of consciousness is on our side. So let us celebrate the fact that scientific and spirituality of the future will converge at some near point, overcoming the shadows of our inner self. We must seize the light and realize the rejoicing of the divine in human form.
And just let's realize we are not alone. We're not alone on this planet because of the remote viewing, the non-locality, the entanglement we have with one another. We can help parts of the planet, even at a distance. We've often done, in fact, in here is a whole work on prayers for peace in the Middle East, so that you never feel like you're disempowered. We're all empowered and we're all part of a greater cosmos, and we'll get the information we need every moment if we're open to that higher dimensional reality with greater love, with the kiss.
Well, I think that's part of this discussion, to realize there are these gifts, whatever you want to call them, that we are non-local, basically, that because we're in soul, because the soul itself is not located necessarily here, but we're accessing a greater field, the divine field, as Linda says. So Linda, anything else you want to add to this discussion, and how this will fit in with the upcoming disclosure? What we just kind of went in depth about trying to understand about who we are. Is there any way this could be worked into a bigger picture that the government will tell us or maybe not tell us?
See, I think that what has happened here today is we are talking about truth. Mm-hmm. We are talking about the fundamental fabric of this cosmos and our relationship to it through the soul. That is, to me, what should be the context of the government and the power brokers finally telling us also the truth. The problem is, it's not in the vested interest of the power brokers to tell us this truth. The vested interest of the power brokers on Earth is to keep us dumb and blind. Then they make more money. And somehow, even though that seems rudimentary, I think that is the rubber hitting the road at this intersection of whether or not humanity is going to evolve with the thought that dwells in the light or not in this regard. If in June, the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence tells the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Guardian, the time is not right, maybe in 2022, ignoring the bill, ignoring Congress. If they do that, then I would fear about the future, not just of the United States, but the whole world.
Yeah, we're down there.
And if they go in the middle and they say, we think that the UFO, UAP phenomena is other intelligence, but we haven't met it yet. So we don't know, and therefore we cannot tell you. We just know that we are getting on infrared and radar unidentified aerial phenomena. It would be a complete and cheap cop-out, but it would buy them time without saying we're ignoring the request. The perfect June response from my point of view would be having the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence with the President of the United States, the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, and all of the so-called representatives standing en masse, and the Secretary of Defense saying, yes, we have known that various intelligences have been interacting with this planet for at least the last 70 years, and more likely for the last 40,000, maybe 270 million years. But it was decided in World War II that it was better to understand privately what was happening and what the agendas were without alarming anyone. And now what we can tell you is, we do have allies. We have interstellar trade routes that we have been operating since the 70s. We have a whole huge group that are neutral to us. There are some that are hostile, but between the neutrals and the friendlies, we have control. Don't worry, we have control over what the hostiles do. And now what we would like is for all of you who see something unusual or have something unusual happen, that you go to, and that's the part I do not know, where would the interface be after we opened it all up? What would the government like in terms of an interface between the public and something that would receive reports, so that the dialogue would be now between the human family and governments who said they wanted the information? And to me, that would be a handshake of the centuries. That would be where humanity itself is given finally, yes, tell us what's happening. We're all in this together. We want to get to Mars. We want to be a two-planet civilization because we live on an unstable planet, but we need all of your help. That to me would be the perfect response, knowing that changing the Doberman-Pincer minds is probably not realistic, but that's what I would pray would happen.
Well, we all pray that is the ultimate, but the likelihood, let's just pray that will be that will free us from what you've been saying, Linda, being an enslaved, abused race. So this is the message. And the other message here is that who we really are as human beings is far greater than the conditioning by people like the government and all those political institutions have us believe. Yeah. So that's sort of in defiance of what that message is, that also has to come along with it. And, yes, there are aliens here, but also who each of you are, and that kind of blows out religion, is a vast, creative, unknown being.
Alan, that is exactly religion and churches. Mm-hmm. People keeps telling me, no, we cannot, we will destroy religion. Mm-hmm. This is insane. If we move the dialogue and if they would tell the truth, and they would talk about the fact that we have actual souls that interact with light, that interact with intelligence, and we are evolving in this universe. We had these little boxes called religions. Now we are going to move all together, the governments, the military, all human communities, into understanding why are we in a holographic universe? Why and what is the statement that all mass is frozen light, and that the Nag Hammadi has the ultimate bottom line, that the thought of the divine, of the entire infinity, that thought dwells in all light.
Exactly.
The photons are the essence of all that is, and we go in and out of light. There is an ebb and flow in light. That would be, I think, received by every human on this planet as a release
Yes, I'm just going to read a few quotes from the epilogue of this book that I think this fits into this discussion. One is by Rene Maria Rilke. He says, "A billion stars go spinning through the night, blazing high above your head. But in you is the presence that will be when all the stars are dead." You know,
I have that on a wall and I look at it every day and I send it to people when somebody passes, because that to me is the essence, not a building that says it is a quote unquote church, that we should be moving to a universal relationship with light and frequency and evolving our souls with the big divine.
Right. Our soul is about to take a huge leap into something unknown. JJ.
I'm inspired by Michelangelo when he paints in the Sistine Chapel the hand of man reaching out to the hand of the divine. So we're very close to that handshake.
Yeah.
Well,
we must go to a much higher level than the extraterrestrial, who are the testers, who are the experimenters, to the ultraterrestrials, who are the great teachers, the scientists of the cosmos, who are now within us, within our dialogue, within our intellectual and spiritual experiences, and let, as it were, the next chapter of the book of life unfold.
Right. I want to just read one more or two more from William Wordsworth. People forget that there's a real spiritual tradition within the poets. And, you know, they were not westernized by a mechanistic Newtonian thinking. The real poets in the West were mystics. And William Wordsworth says in the prelude, 1805, "Our destiny, our nature, our home is with infinitude and only there." That's what we've been talking about. And one more that I end the book with is this famous quote by Einstein, because after this whole discussion about ETs and souls and beings and planets and trades on different, civilizations, there's this.
And light and light.
And light and love and a kiss from the unknown, where after all that, I want to just, and it comes back to us and Einstein. This is the end of this book. I don't want to give away the ending, but this is it. He says, "Still, there are moments when one feels free from one's own identification with human limitations and inadequacies. At such moments, one imagines that we stand at some spot on a small planet, gazing in amazement at the cold yet profoundly moving beauty of the eternal, the unfathomable. Life and death flow into one, and there is neither evolution nor destiny, only being." And that's who we are. We are beings on the search for the unknown, and all this stuff about ETs and consciousness. It's all about us. It's all about our inner journey. It's like Whitley said, it's the journey of initiation. So,
and it's the ebb and flow in and out of the light.
So, well, thank you. I'll give everyone's website in a second. I just want to hear from Neil. Neil, any questions and we don't have to go through all of them, but I also want you to kind of share one of your words of wisdom, Neil. I mean, one of your raps, because I think Neil is a great performing artist. And do you want to share something, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, not really, but I do feel that this is it right now, and I'm glad just to have facilitated this energy for all of us to come together here, and it's just going to continue. It keeps getting bigger and bigger, and to me, it's inevitable. We're waking up. You know, the cycles of time.
Okay, Whitley needs to go. Okay.
Right, Whitley, do you want to say something before you leave?
Well, yeah, I will say one thing. As above, so below. This is the essence, the essential energy of awakening is contained in those words. And what it means is this. Above, there is indeterminacy. The quantum field is indeterminate. And below, reflecting that, is living a life in real question. Live in question, and you reflect the journey of the universe toward knowledge.
Thank you. And it's also reminding me the mystery is not out there, but it's here. It's right here. Thank you, Whitley, for everything you're doing and have done, and you as being a pioneer, coming out with your experiences since '85 and challenging the mindset of people who question the impossible. The impossible has happened to you, Whitley, and you're leading the way for many people. I hear from people all the time said they picked up communion and their life has changed. So thank you. We could find you at Unknown Country. Tell us where else we can find you, Whitley.
Now, unknowncountry.com is where to start. And my podcast is Dreamland. You can find me on YouTube at W Strieber. Mm-hmm. And I'm all around. You'll find me easily enough.
and your new book,
Jesus, A New Vision. Mm-hmm. It is truly a new vision of that extraordinary man who gave his all for us. Mm. And it's time now to open ourselves to the gift in a real way.
Each of us have that gift if we can find it, if we can take it. Thank you. Thank you. And look for all of Whitley's books. It's a New World is the one he did just before that. And that is understanding the visitors, I feel, on their level of abstraction. So Whitley, thanks for your contribution in.
Well, thank you for your book. It is marvelous. And it's talk about a journey in consciousness. The selections of the essays you made in there are extremely astute. There's a lot of energy in that book.
All right. Thank you. I feel it's a good foundation for people who are already steeped in this knowledge and those just coming to it. So I also want to share, there's one of Linda's extraterrestrials. Yeah. I also want to share what I just found on Amazon is that this book has just reached, because of Linda's show last night, #1 in new releases in UFOs, which is really, I mean, there's thousands of UFO books out there, but Linda gave a huge plug, and I'm giving a plug to Linda. Go to Earth Files, youtube.com/Earth Files every Wednesday night. Subscribe to Linda's YouTube channel. We want to get her to 250,000 and then 500,000 subscribers, and then 1 million subscribers. So thank you, Linda. Anything you want to, UN, is that chocolate or no, that is.
This is fluffy. This is innocence. And this innocence, in a way, is what humanity needs a lot more of in order to start feeling that thought within the light. I really do think that innocence is the key. And remember, there was in the New Testament, Christ says, "He who believeth in him who sent me shall have everlasting life." And it's like on the other side of that sentence is, he who does not believe in him, and I'm equating that to the thought that dwells in the light, the divine, shall not have everlasting life, as if the dynamic that we have never really truly been taught on this planet is that when you relate to the light and as the fabric of the universe, you then somehow connect to that process, which is infinite recycling of soul quantum energy. And the cats remind me of that every single day. They're innocent.
Thank you, Linda. Earth Files, go earthfiles.com. There's thousands of reports about the UFO phenomena, Linda's ongoing research, her research into Antarctica. So vast are her archives that they should be required reading especially for the Congress who wants to find out about what's really going on. Her
Yeah.
profile of Colonel Corso the last few weeks, that should be sent to the
Right.
Senate Intelligence Committee instead of
Right.
these reports that aren't really probably going to tell us anything. So, okay. And JJ and Desiree, we are here in Sedona. We're going to have a big party on Sunday for everyone in the area. And let me bring up
We're
that.
moving from humankind to space kind. Alan, you know this is going to be a prelude to some of the other aspects of what may or may not materialize this summer from the higher government sources. But
I have to say, if it does materialize, your book is going to stay #1. That's what we're
Yes.
and
Well,
Linda
it's-
and Whitley mentioned the Nag Hammadi. As many of you know, I'm a specialist in ancient biblical languages and Coptic, which I studied in Egypt. And so I have the whole plethora of the more than 54 books translated and will be available for those who are interested in seeing, as it were, the parallel tradition between the official received tradition of scholars, but also those that reflect more of the higher cosmological and psychological teachings.
So all the ancient teachings of the Middle East that we've been talking about, he's actually taken it and brought it into a multi-cosmological level. So we don't have to throw out the real old past.
But see, the new garment of the Holy Spirit, the language of light that makes us all the bride of the bridegroom, makes us all aware of what it means to be the bride of the cosmic frontier where we become cosmic citizens.
So we have the cloth of Turin, we have the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have extraterrestrials, all also on our YouTube channel, which is called Future Science TV, and also it links to Keys of Enoch TV on the YouTube. So it's just interesting tidbits you guys might be interested in, or the audience particularly, about this.
Put on the lights and enjoy the next page of cosmic history as it unfolds. Choose the light.
And we are a part of this new time. I'm calling May 2nd, Making Contact Day. There's going to be a big celebration on May 4th. When the book is released, there's people coming from all over to Sedona to do a sky watch. Mark Sims is going to be leading that. And we're all going out to the desert to start making contact. So if you're in the Sedona area or anywhere near, come to the Unity Church on May 2nd, come out to the desert with us on May 4th. You can see details here. Thank you, everyone. Neil, do you have anything else to say if people want to donate and support Portal to Ascension? Because he's gifted us with this 2 hours together. If we want to support this, are you there, Neil?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here.
How
Yeah,
can
well,
people just...
When we're done here, I'm going to do a little after show, and I'll show some videos and the website and everything. So I'll show everybody
Okay.
then. Mhm.
All right, great. But just give like how people, because there's going to be people tuning out, just tell people how to find you and donate to Portal to Ascension.
Sure. Well, if you'd like to contribute for this production and others, we do around 110 events a year. More than that if you include all the podcasts and everything, but full productions around 110. And there's around 20 to 30 of them that are completely free, including every twice a year now. There's a Portal to Ascension conference. Last year was a 5-day event, 10 hours a day with 4 panels. This year, May 20th to May 23rd, it's a 4-day event because 5 days was a little too much for me. I think I can do 4 days.
Well, just
So
give us how to be donate.
if you want to check it out, portaltoascension.org, but if you want to donate and contribute to this and other productions, part of our free productions, you can do it at a link I'm about to post in here, which is paypal.me/portaltoascension. But I'm just going to go ahead and post it in the room right here, and you guys can go ahead and do that.
And if you want to if you want to buy the book, Making Contact, go to Amazon. And let's keep this #1. Give it to all those friends that never believed anything you said, about UFOs, and your family. Like there's one in every family said, this is ridiculous. Actually, one of the acknowledgements in this book is to my mother, who used to say, do you really believe in that sort of thing? And so I wrote this book and became obsessed with this subject, because not only did I believe it, I experienced it. And I think it's important that, like Linda says, we wake up to the truth. So thank you all today. But Neil, please leave us with and Whitley, if you have to go, it's okay, but leave us with one of your raps, because I think they are creative, like the rap of Incarnation. Like, he's a great creative artist. And If you're okay with that, Neil, I think I love
Yeah.
one. Okay.
I
go
would
ahead.
love to stay, but I have run out of time.
No, I
Thank you
understand.
all so much.
Thank you, Whitley. I'll be in touch. Thank you. Okay.
So I'm thinking the best way to do this would be to do two poems that kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Okay.
First one is called Fragmentation, and it's about different levels of consciousness and just experiencing, coming down to this realm. And then the other one is called Prism of Lyra, which is basically a story of our galactic origins up until the moment of now. So here we go. This one's called Fragmentation. And just whoever wants to stick around after this, please do. We're going to do 30 minutes of some videos. I'm going to show some things on the website as well. But here we go. Here's the presentation. Fragmentation, the void. In the beginning, there were no words, no concept, no winning. No place, no time, no description, no label, no finishing, until awareness became conscious of itself, separation from source, no east, no west, no south or north. Not to mention there never existed a dimension or ascension or physical lessons except for the 0 point. There was no Christ to anoint. Singularity, energy, frequency, raised vibrationally, paradoxically into limitation what only the five senses can see. No linearity, no anarchy, no galaxies, no nebulae, no jobs, no nature, no materialism, and no political lies, until darkness finally fragmented from the light, using free will to see through the night. The darkness. I take the anxiety pill full of fright, in my bed insecure from the conspiracy that might take over my mind, control me with a chip inside, scared and full of fear. That is the reason why we are here. To the star system of Arcturus I stare and recite my cosmic prayers, self-empowered, the fabric of victim consciousness I tear. The light. You see, the destination has already been chosen. It's the journey that counts. Every day we transcend, no doubt, living in the now, realizing it's all a projection of a co-creation of our own subconscious mind, channel energy through the heart, remembrance of the divine, take apart my ego and restart my life in every moment. I'm going home, traveling across the black intergalactic ocean. I took the psychedelic potion and now I'm awoken to the streets. We take the spoken word. Fly high, levitate the God inside, I'm free like a bird. Cosmic oneness integrating in my being, a full spectrum being, in alignment with the purity confined in ranges of frequencies, inhibit what we are seeing. I shift what I choose to believe in, fuel my light body for the ether I am feeding. That's fragmentation.
Great, yes.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So this one is called Prism of Lyra. I wrote it for Lisa Royale. This was a gift to her because she wrote the book Prism of Lyra, and it changed my life many years ago. I rhythmically scratch records. Visually mass appeal, holistically heal the resonance of a presence, allow yourself to feel. Fragmentation from source, self wishing to experience was all from one thought of what if, could I be this? The polar opposite, through the prism we came, created a prison of the brain, enslaved? You don't think so? Well, there are no victims in this show. We're all playing a role. Ego, learn to let it go. Let the soul flow from the crown to the root. I'm letting you know it's only conceptual. Experience allows the wisdom to grow. Embrace the ignorance that spreads from the elitist control. Experience allows the wisdom to grow. Embrace the ignorance that spreads from the elitist control. When the Syrians descended into this density, the Lyrans came, looking for a place to incarnate and name a species and a race to hold the souls of they who are interdimensional entities. Integration being the third point, anoint the Christ consciousness, sacred geometry, to protect the kids of the universe being only one galaxy. Moving closer to the center by raising our frequency, I frequently see infinite possibilities, a contractual planet with the masses on the knees. The snake in the Bible will be found to be the positivity. Polarized by the Syrians who knew about free will, gave us the choice of the blue or red pill. The Lyrans, they were enraged. They wanted us to keep us ingrained in oneness and fifth dimensional grace. Instead, into darkness we came, so that one day we can transcend and regain remembrance of our place in this intergalactic plane of extraterrestrials, just to name a few. Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Syrians who genetically mutated early man to create a perfect embodiment of who they are, using Stargate souls coming through stars, entering the womb to embark on a journey to the dog to once again spark and ignite the flame, rearrange these neural networks in the brain to achieve enlightenment. You see, the universe is full of abundance. All we have to do is the cosmic dance. Shiva, the interdimensional manifestation of man, extraterrestrial incarnates known as light workers. We're all here to transform this land. We're here to transform this land. We're here to transform this land.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
More power.
Thank you for that. Great, right, Linda? Did you know that behind Portal to Ascension was that?
It's a-
No, I had no idea anybody in the universe could do that.
That's great. Well, thank you all. This is, I think, historic in the sense of the range that we covered from extraterrestrials to the ascension to making contact. Thank you, Desiree. These guys have been so supportive. And
Yes, we should be
right,
holding up.
here
the
we
book.
go.
The
Neil,
book,
where's your
okay.
book? But that's okay. Oh, there we go. We have a 4 of a kind. That's
And
good.
now it's all of you out there throughout the world seeing this program.
Getting your book.
Be aware that some of the best scientific minds know this. Be aware some of the top musicians, including Carlos Santana, knows this. Be aware that some of the great poets, scholars, there in Africa and Brazil know this. Be aware that there's a coming universal tone, a reckoning, a Sabbath day to where we are called into graduation. Be aware of the divine spark within each of us, that we are going home into the greater universe.
Beautiful.
We are about to
Yeah.
make history. All of us as a planetary species, we will be the ones that are making contact. I really think that mind-cracking headline will just be a headline. It'll be a reality, Linda, that we are not alone in the universe, and each of us will and can meet the other, even on an even playing field, and that will change human civilization in a big way. We will know who we really are. This being of awakening, Whitley said, like an initiation. So thank you, Desiree, JJ, and everything you're doing. I will.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Linda. I'll be in touch with you, Linda. Thank you for your programs.
Yeah, and next Wednesday, it's you and me in the interview on my Earth Files YouTube channel.
Great. Linda has been a great friend and just a great support. And I love her work. She is the top UFO investigator in a field of all men. You have risen to the top as the number one, because it's your passion. It's your destiny. Ever since
It's our universe to explore.
Let's take back our universe, not
Yes.
from governments that will probably never tell us the truth because they don't know what the truth is, but all of us. And that's really, the truth isn't in this book, but it's between the words. It is a cluster of meaning that the reader can put together as they make sense. As they put together all these different pieces, they will get the elephant, the shape of that elephant.
And I think the truth. I think from Nick Pope to Mary Rodwell.
What John Mack told me before he passed, he said, we will have to redefine scientific truth.
Well, one of the things I like about John Mack, he says, if we're going to understand the phenomena, we need other ways of knowing. And that's this intuitive, cosmic, sort of shamanic sensibility that we're not linear left brain, but we're also right brain. Yeah, Linda.
And Alan and all of you, what we need on this planet is what the Greeks had a word for, agape love. I love you as a creature that I can resonate with, and that my soul has a soul relationship. I can feel you. And that part, how did that get out of human life? If we felt the way I feel right now to all of you, with the pressure in my chest that I relate to as my soul, and I love you, agape is loving your fellow creature as a brother or sister. And if we felt that, how could we kill each other? How could there be war? And that to me is the next evolutionary step that we all have to get to.
Maybe that's the new world, if we can take it, a world of agape.
Agape. Agape Theou is the divine spark within each of us.
And it can love. Love is not sexual in agape. Love is that feeling from your soul to another recognized soul that's in a human container. And somehow that has been lost on this planet.
Well,
and if it came back, I think it would solve a lot of problems.
I think it's coming back. When you feel that pressure in your chest, Linda,
Yeah.
it's back. You know, the work of the Hurtaks are from pure love to help uplift humanity. Really, they are so dedicated. Every day, I know because I've lived with them. They are at it. They do not take vacations. They hardly
So
have
does
time
Linda.
to.
She's at it every day too.
Well,
Yeah, I'm at it too. But how many times have you seen something like a beautiful hawk or eagle or one of the beautiful birds that flies? Don't you just suddenly have this pressure and you almost feel like you want to cry? And it's not a cry for sadness. It's a cry for a joy of a recognition of a life force. And it's that recognition of life force that I think is directly connected to the soul. And the soul is what allows us to recognize these other life forms. And that is joy. That is true joy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's another conversation maybe we could all have together sometime, Neil and Alan. So
yeah, let's do another round if everyone's open to this. But we had 200 people mostly for most of the show really listening and on the chat, and hundreds of people on YouTube. So Neil, very successful show.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for all your support, Neil, and for being such a good friend and, you know, supporting what we're all doing collectively. So you're going to close out the, are you going to close the stream as well?
I'm going to show the website a little more to show a couple of upcoming events. Then I'm going to close the YouTube, and then we're going to have a little after party video back to back over here for 30 minutes.
Do you want to reactivate the YouTube after you close this portion and then go back? And,
yeah, why not? If we can.
I think so. Okay. Linda, you can come to the after party. You're always invited, but I know you have a million things to do.
Yeah, I will transition, but feel a huge digital hug. I mean it. Linda. Agape digital hug. I love you, truly.
Thank you so much.
Linda. For your brilliance, your intelligence, and your enthusiasm to give us the truth. So this is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Alan, we'll see you on Sunday.
See you. Yes, we'll see everyone Sunday if they're in the Sedona area. Okay. Thanks, Neil. We'll close out this portion and then thank you, Brad, for helping Linda and everything. Yes. Okay.
Cool. Neil? So should I do the website and the upcoming events while we're live and then just the next portion we'll do that, or how do you want to do it?
Well,
or we can just end this and just start over straight away if you want.
You want to start? Well, I guess since people are here, we can just keep going.
Just keep flowing. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a long show, but that's okay. If people want to stick around, we're just going to go. Or maybe you get more viewers, though, if we stop the stream and restarted it.
Let's see. We got like 100 something on YouTube right now. Let's just keep flowing. We'll be done in like 20 minutes.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's go.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I just wanted to share with you guys just more of the website, really, and some upcoming events. Okay.
And also, I have some stuff to share too. If
cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Go ahead. You share your stuff. I'll share mine. Okay.
So just a few events out of the 100+ events on an upcoming website that's launching next week. We have events such as this, the Pyramid Knowledge Conference, which is going to be such a profound event with such a wide range of speakers talking on everything from mathematics to quantum physics to cosmology of pyramids, to healing, to sound and vibration in pyramids, to deep esoteric awareness, to a worldwide pyramid culture, you know, over 13,000 years ago, and even up to even more recent than that. So this is one event that's going to be launched on our new website. That's coming up. That's going to be on June 6th. And then this one here is going to be JJ and Desiree will also be a part of this event, and Freddie Silver, who is like so amazing. We just did an event with him called Ancient Architects. And this one's called Sacred Sites and Ceremonies, and it's our second annual. We're actually going to start doing this one twice a year. So it's a second annual, but this year we're going to do a third one as well. And what we do is we have people representing different sacred sites from around the world. And in between them, we have a 15-minute indigenous sacred site ceremony. So many of these individuals will actually be at the sacred sites presenting from them. We have a few more people I haven't added here yet. But this is a really awesome one because not only is it hardcore information and education, but we also do like meditation ceremonies in the middle of it. But you also get a tour of the world, especially when we did the last one back in November, right in the heart of this world experience we're going through right now. We were like showing different areas. It was like a tour, a virtual tour of sacred sites. So that one is coming up July 18th. And if you're at all interested in just learning more about this, because I know some of you aren't signed up to the website, go to portal2ascension.org, sign up there, and you'll get updates. Now, this event right here, I'm doing with Alan and Sheila Seppi, Alan Steinfeld and Sheila. We're all going to host it together. And this is our first ever, and maybe, I don't know if it's the first ever in the world, but 2-day hybrids online conference, a 2-day event on hybrids and the hybridization program, different people who represent hybrids, hypnotherapists like Barbara Lamb, who has regressed people that had those experiences, a hybrid like Geraldine Orozco, Murray Rodwell, who does a lot of research herself. This is a 2-day conference on the hybridization program, and that is also launched on our new website as of next week. And it's really going to be amazing. Like the amount of fun, I saw somebody comment earlier saying like how amazing this and entertaining, and she thought it would be boring, but it's really actually fun. That's how we roll with Portal to Ascension. Entertainment, like edutainment, really. It's about information, but it's definitely about keeping our attention spans on the topic. And so we're going to have musicians and artists showcased in between presenters here, like a 10-minute, even a live artist playing while someone's presenting. So it's going to be a very unique online experience. Now I'm going to show you 3 more pages here, and then what I'm going to do is I want to get your feedback after Alan shares some stuff. I think Alan's still with us. So after Alan shares what he wants to share, we're going to do a few videos, but I want you guys to choose what videos you want to watch on different topics, and that will be the way we kind of close it out today. But just like this presenters page, I'm extremely, what's the word for it? I'm extremely excited and happy with this page because it's taken so long to create, with hundreds of speakers, right? To put them all here with their profiles, with their topics. You know, it goes deep. Like, check it out, UFOs and extraterrestrials, right? We can go to conspiracies, experiences, advanced tech, right? Just people talking about UFOs that are specifically advanced tech. Alan, you want to say something?
Yeah, no, this is all great. Neil, you are putting together a great like opus of work, you know. This is leading the people into a new time. And we're on screen share. I just wanted to screen share one other thing. Can you share
go for it.
my screen share? Let me just share screen. I just want to add one more thing to that, which is it's a video about May 4th, the release of the book.
Yeah, do you want to share your screen? I don't see a screen right now.
You don't see a screen right now?
Mm-mm.
Wait, let me just share this screen right now. 1 second. It's this on May 4th. I've been working with Mark Sims. Okay, let me share this screen here. Mark Sims got really excited about my book, and he jumped in. He put on the harmonic conversions, but anyway, he put together this little video for the release of the book and this big sky watching event that we are doing. He's calling it Making Contact, an international CE5 event. So here it goes.
In the Sedona Desert, at a secret location, an unprecedented event is taking place. May 4th is Making Contact Day.
These are radios Mark uses to make contact. It's a little...
With your hosts, Scott Katamas and Deborah Giusti. Along with author Alan Steinfeld, who is celebrating May 4th with the release of his new book, Making Contact, The New Realities of Extraterrestrial Existence. And the executive producer of Making Contact Day, Mark Sims. Join us as we make history live on Zoom. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Register at http:// tinyurl.com/may-4-registration.
That anyway, that will be a Zoom recording from the desert on May 4th when we call in the UFOs for everyone to see. And Mark has arranged with lots of CE5 groups around the world, Japan, Mexico, South America, to be part of that calling in. Oh, what is that? Oh, never. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you, Neil. So that's one thing, and everyone can buy the book again. I hate to be obnoxious and push it, but I think it's great that Linda really helped make it #1. And but I do think it's a good read. I think it's a good book for people to start or continue their education in the phenomena. And thank you, Neil, for your friendship and your support and everything. And if you're in the Sedona area, who's ever in the Sedona area, meet me and Travis Walton and JJ Hurtak at the Unity Church, 2 p.m. May 2nd. So that's about all I have to share. Go to my website. Actually, the Zoom event for May 4th will be on my YouTube also. That's youtube.com/new realities. Anyway, thanks for this. This has been really fun. 3 hours practically. It doesn't seem like it, does it? So, all right. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, brother. So what I want to do actually right now is we forgot to meditate. Actually, we never forget because we're always in that energy anyway. But okay, so let's let's just breathe in unison right now together. And I'm not really into guided meditation, so we're not going to do a guided visualization, but just let's breathe together. I'm just going to say a few words and do a poem. Then we're going to get into a couple of videos here because it's a great thing for us just to send that energy out and really create what we want on Earth. And since we're here, and the topic today is UFOs, extraterrestrials, ultraterrestrials, that is what we're going to focus upon. Okay, so I want everybody who wants to, and you don't have to take part of it. You can just sit back and relax and just wait or just be in this energy. But let's just get comfortable, and that's comfortable, and start breathing normally, just through your nose, out through your mouth. And I invite you to close your eyes in any moment that you would like. And then just keep breathing through the nose, out through the mouth, and through the nose, out through the mouth. Becoming present with every breath, experiencing reality as it is now, not attempting to create a different reality, an altered reality, but experiencing the present state of being, not needing to escape. But what we're doing now is we're not traveling anywhere. We're embracing the now. We're embracing through our breath together as we breathe. We're embracing our breath, our body, our lungs, our nose, our throats, our entire body. And further than that, we're embracing this present moment, being here on Earth, being here together, the experience that some say we signed up for, the experience that we are here to have together collectively to shift our consciousness. Continue to breathe through the nose, out through the mouth. And what we're going to do is we're just going to chant 3 Oms together. And that's only if you would like to. And Om is a good word to chant because it really transcends dogma. Om may be in spiritual scriptures, maybe in the Vedic text, the Hindu scriptures, but Om is a sound that transcends religion, that came into existence before there was dogma and there was scripture on Earth. It's the sound of the universe. So continue to breathe. And on the next inhale, we're going to start with 3 Oms. So inhale deep into the nose. And exhale Om. Om. Inhale through the nose. Exhale Om. Inhale. as we just spoke the vibration of the cosmos and all of creation, set your intention. Set your intention right now for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and then for the entirety of the universe. What is your intention for yourself? What would you want in life? What do you feel you need in order to create more empowerment and harmony and bliss in your life? What is your intention for your friends and families? What would you like them to experience? What is your intention for them? And lastly, let's all come up with our intention for the universe and the cosmos. My intention is full disclosure, but not just disclosure of extraterrestrial presence, but the disclosure of our true ancient history, who we are, where we came from, why we have amnesia, disclosure of advanced technologies that we can use harmoniously, not just the UFO phenomena. There's so much more to disclose. In this world where we have forgetfulness, where we have amnesia, there is so much yet to be discovered, which is why it's so incredibly beautiful, right? It's so beautiful that there's so much that we have yet to discover, and we know that we're at the beginning phase of a rediscovery, right? And some of us are already into that quite deeply, but pretty soon the world is going to be able to have this information too. It's out there now, but it's going to be more common knowledge. So as that moves forward, as that occurs, as we enter this world, what is your intention for that disclosure process to look like? Mine is to create it harmoniously and organically, and in a way that is in a way that doesn't create destruction, chaos, but creates peace and unity. So on that, so it is. Meditate and levitate. Waves of frequencies resonate higher. I'm connected to the provider, source of cosmic energy. We're going to be one single entity, expansion remedied, oneness must breathe, exhale and let free, consciousness to be, experiences of you and me. Souls of interdimensional beings to feel, hear, and see this third-dimensional planetary existence. All time can be found in one instance, in this realm of linearity, atoms in anarchy, quantum polarity, the epitome of creation. Facing our egos, acquiring patience, waiting to let go of our nations, and join the federation of souls that will take us to the fifth world. And if your eyes are still closed, you can go ahead and open them up. All right, so now we're going to get into just a few other things here. I want to tell you guys once again that the Portal to Ascension conference is coming up in May 20th to 23rd. It is a free event, so there's no reason for any of you not to sign up right now. And check this out. You can register free or donation. 33 presenters, 6 MCs, 4 days, 3 panels. Right? And look at all these speakers that we have here. We have Grant Cameron, Dan Winter, Laura Eisenhower, John D'Souza, Lori Spagna, Adam Apollo, Trisha McCannon, Billy Carson, Celestine Starr, goes on and on and on. Kathleen Martin, Costa, Phil Gruber, Peter Sterling, Alexis Brooke, Jamie Janover, Barbara Lamb, Wayne Perry, Chief Golden Light Eagle, Michael Feely, the Hurtaks, Murray Rodwell, Paul Hynek, Mark Sims, and we have sound healers, Whitley Strieber, and more. And there's a few people that I haven't added here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat room. Go ahead and sign up for it. Last event we did in October, we had 8,600 people signed up. That's a lot. So this time we're trying to get as much, or if not more, because just getting together with that many people with this awareness, it's going to be 4 days, around 9 hours a day. There will be a panel at the end of each event, each day. There's going to be a UFO disclosure panel, an experiencer panel, Ascension panel, and an ancient civilizations forbidden archaeology panel, and all online via Zoom. So the link is in the chat room right now. If you're on a social media platform like Facebook or YouTube, go to portal2ascension.org, go under online events right there, and it'll be one of the first few events. So do go ahead and check it out. Okay. All right. Thanks, Candice. Copied. Awesome. So now what I want to do is I'm going to show a couple of videos here, just kind of like phase us out as we move out of the room. We'll have these videos playing. Anybody who's at home and wants to just put it on in the background, that's great. But let's get some feedback and have you decide what videos you want to look at, okay? So awesome, Carol, thank you. So here's a few videos that I've done on our YouTube right now, and these are the topics. What do you want to get into in this moment? Do you want to get into Native American, North American civilizations compared to South American? So you can write North America or something like that in there if you want to get into that one. Do you want to get into, or do you want to get into how the Greek gods and the Hindu gods are actually the same gods, right? And that ties into the extraterrestrial question there. So either we're talking about native civilizations of the Americas, Greek gods and Hindu gods. Then we have another one on Saturn. What is going on with Saturn? So if you want to get into a video on Saturn, let it be known. Or we could do galactic origins presentation, which I think I'll end it off with. So let's go with either North American civilizations, UFO disclosure, my perspective, or Greek and Hindu gods. So I'm going to take a look at the chat room right now. Let's get some feedback right there. Saturn or galactic. Okay. Saturn. Okay. I kind of figured Saturn would be it. So let's do this. We're going to do Saturn, which is like a 10-minute video. We're going to do North American civilizations, which is an 8-minute video. And then I'm going to play the galactic one as we phase out, because the galactic one is a long one. So it's just going to be playing as everybody is leaving for today. But firstly, I'm going to play a video of myself and Sedona doing a spoken word piece. So stick around if you want to. We're going to go ahead into the entertainment portion now and play some videos and get some cool information of ancient history. So I love you all. I'll check back with you probably in a few here, but I'm going to go ahead and start these videos. And to let you know, the replay is available immediately on YouTube or on Portal to Ascension Facebook, facebook.com/Portal to Ascension, or you can go on New Realities YouTube, or you can go on the Portal to Ascension YouTube as well and take a look at them there.
What's going on, everybody? This is MC Resonance, Neil, here in Sedona with my beautiful friends, Alyssa and Chuck. And I'm going to do some spoken word for you right now to harmonize myself and all around me with the energy of this beautiful area. So this one is Atlantis. So are we one yet? Going back to source. No remorse when we reinforce the course that we all endorse. Unconditional love. It's the highest vibration, a gift from above. Desolation or separation, we must be the ones to say this is enough. The third dimension, man, it was meant to be tough. There is no captivity, so unlock the cusp. Move away from hate and begin to trust. No more anger or lust. The thoughts just the earth's crust. It's a straight axis, just like in Atlantis. Stop causing damage and learn to manage self-realization. When people start to vanish when we change our intentions. And join the like-minded souls in the fifth dimension. You see, this is the beginning of our oversoul mission. The future incarnations, the Christ consciousness has arisen. Tear the perception of being in a prison, this industrial system, somewhere of opposites, duality where we get lost and forget how to circumvent and achieve liberation. The curiosity won't last for long at all. As you move to the aquatic age, break free from the third dimensional cage of limitations, Freemasons being displaced in this illusionary reality, governing authorities, there will be no more war. Co-creative love ambassador, open the doors. Life isn't supposed to be a chore. No getting on your knees, worshiping entities from the floor. The message is simple, man, we don't need to know anymore. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Thank you.
I see a couple of you say that you got an error logging in to the website. Give it a few minutes. Maybe it did get overloaded, but give it a few minutes and try it back again, okay? All right, here we go. A video on what is up with Saturn. This is a freestyle video on just rambling on about Saturn and what could possibly be up with it.
Thank you for having us, brother. Yeah, I'm actually very interested in this topic, and I've gone down a few different routes in regards to this, and especially for my route would really be the whole Luciferian complex of the Saturn and how it's been demonized and what it really means, and if it's maybe a good energy that was kind of hijacked. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people feel like Saturn is like demonic energy, but I feel that it's just a planet, that it doesn't have that demonic energy, but maybe it's been used for nefarious purposes in the past. So first of all, the whole Saturn thing, we have Saturn's return, right? And which is a dark night of the soul that usually happens towards the end of your 20s, in which you're astrologically
Saturn is governing you, and all these dark elements of you are coming up to be experienced. So it's very interesting how these elite worship like Saturn, and at the same time, this is the same planet that has an energy of bringing up like deep underlying things and helping you discover and find out who you really are in this world. So just by hijacking the energy of Saturn, you're thereby influencing and manipulating people's self-discovery, and for them to really become the people they need to become on this planet. And if you take it right at that moment, you have more of an ability to control them, right? So you also mentioned that Zeus, the son of it was the son of Saturn, right?
Yeah.
And Saturn, because if you look at all the pantheon of gods, and spoke about this in multiple podcasts with you guys, that there's this whole concept across all the world religions. Most of the gods that we think were the gods, like most people wouldn't know that Zeus had a father and all that stuff. They just think Zeus was the god. But what they don't realize is most of the gods actually had parents that the kids overtook and killed most of the times. That's
even
how
Odin in that genre of what we call heathenism or whatever. The same thing. Every narrative for every religion. Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, brother. Go.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So there's this whole conquer mentality of overthrowing our own family and our own parents. So there's so much metaphors within this whole concept of just Saturn in general and planets, and that even ties back to, like you said, the Watchers from the Bible, right? But we neglect to also realize that in the Old Testament, right at the beginning, it says the Elohim created us in their image, and El is the god of Saturn. So we're saying the god, well, technically it's supposed to be a feminine term, so it should mean the goddesses of Saturn created us in their image and in their likeness. That's the literal translation in Phoenician Canaanite, right?
Well, and that's why in the Greek and in the Roman religions, it was the females who venerated Venus, not the males.
Yep.
So the schools for them both were both virgin women being priestesses. Go ahead.
Wow. So we're seeing it everywhere. And what I'm getting at here is always showing that, because I do see this whole like anti-Saturn kind of mentality, and it's really about who is using it. Just like the number 13, for example, like number 13 is a spiritual number, but it's been hijacked. And what happens a lot is even like the all-seeing eye, right? If you see the third eye, where do you see it the most? On the dollar bill. It's right there. They put it on top of the pyramid. These are very spiritual concepts that they've used. And the secret, the one of the secrets is definitely the law of attraction, but the true secret is, this awareness of sacred geometry, the way the universe runs, what the pineal gland is, how you can activate those powers. So they hijack all of the elements that can help us expand and realize who we are, and then make it their own. And Saturn is definitely one of those. And I want to open this now into this conversation. The vortex at the bottom of Saturn at one of the poles. Why are we even talking about that? There is something going on in Saturn, and it seems like there's some interdimensional portal or something coming out in some geometric form. So there's just so much happening, and it's right in plain sight.
That's the eye of providence. Is where that comes from. Is from the South Pole of Saturn, because on the North Pole we have a hexagon, and then and of course on the South Pole. And you're totally right. I think it's something interdimensional, and then when we think about,
it's an evolution. I think what we're seeing is a reflection of the evolution of the spiritual belief here on this planet. I think that the long game they're playing, and the people that are taking control of the narrative, there's the talk that the pyramid, the Great Pyramid at Giza, was this place that you were supposed to go into to help you spiritually. It was never a tomb, but it was hijacked by the priests, and the priests were the powers that should not be, that have been in charge and still are. So they've gone around systematically all over the world and hijacked everything that they can to continue bombarding all of us to keep us exactly where we are. I thoroughly believe this. So I would say, man, I bet they're all up to it. Every satellite up there.
So many stories can come out of this. Like just to say that one, for example, that reminds me of the story of Lemuria, and how this planet was a divine feminine energy planet, and then the Martians left Mars because they were creating an external Merkaba and utilized external technology, destroying their own civilization. They left, came to Earth, started mingling with the divine feminine childlike consciousness over here, hijacked them all, and started going around the entire planet, claiming all the sacred sites and pretending it was theirs, and they're the ones that did it. So now we have all these rulers, and that can even go into Egypt. Egypt was founded by descendants of Atlantis.
Yep.
They built it, made a great civilization. Frequency began dropping from the planet. They couldn't use their pyramids anymore to sustain the power grid that they were utilizing on the ley lines anymore. They're overpowered. They went down. These beings dispersed all over the world, including the Maya and other places. And then all of a sudden, other people came to these ruins, took them, hijacked them, claimed to be the priests and the pharaohs of this whole thing. And then they kept it the whole time, right? Up until now. And now these people claim to have the bloodline of these elite, and they think there's some like powerful ET race.
That's the Luciferian theory. They say it goes back to Lucifer the fallen when they came down, and Lucifer was actually the Elohim, right? And that was that group. So they actually claim they're related to that group. They believe they are, and they're controlling the matrix.
Founder races.
Yeah, I would say that Krita Mutwa touched on it. There was the two brothers, the Chittahuri brothers, and they were reptilian-like, and then they left people in charge when they phased out of this reality to go back to wherever they came from. So we can really attribute Lucifer really right to that point, to those Chittahuri brothers, because when they left kingships, and then from those kingships, of course, because we're vibrating at such a low vibration that there's fights in between, and there's sects, and they break off, and there's wars, and secret societies are created, and then they carry forth that knowledge, the magic, I guess, the magical knowledge that they have and understand on who and what we really are. And I think that's kind of where it goes back to.
It's just an infighting monarchy, just like anything else. So then you're going to see that literally you can see the evolution of this planet. And we know now that every single ruler on this planet are cousins. They're all interrelated, including all the presidents of the United States, except for one. And that was not Donald Trump. He's related. Right. So what we have here is those people, I believe, like Neil said, they're not the actual ruling class. They're the ones who took it over after the ruling class had to leave. Because if you look at all the religions, like Enki left and said, I will return, right? You had everyone doing that. You had, what's his name? Noah's father, Enoch. Enoch said the same thing. Enoch said, I will leave, but I will return. You have the Japanese and their gods saying the same thing. The Chinese, the Indians, the Hindus say the same thing. So they had this supposed creator god who had to leave for some reason. And I think that was during the War of the Gods that you hear about in the Mahabharata and in the, what's the other one? Right? And I think that's the war that happened. I think they were driven off. Okay, this is my opinion from literature. I think they were driven off, but they said, I shall return. And they never did. Or if they did, they didn't. I think the quarantine happened. I think their asses got kicked out of here and the quarantine happened. They haven't been able to come back. But you still have the Orion Crusader group trying to keep that narrative and cultivate that narrative of you were a slave labor race. Because if they can Jedi mind trick the world into believing that, they can just show up and go, we're your creator gods, worship us. Hi, here we are.
So my theory is, I don't normally say my theories, but this is my theory of the creation of the solar system. And this comes from Sumerian tablets of creation, reading ancient scriptures, Egyptian hieroglyphs, some science-based stuff, and even like the science stuff, I'm talking about the fact that they found an outpost, looks like an actual structure in the rings of Saturn that looks like that some race had some sort of structure there. Who knows what it is, but that was on NASA's own website. Right. So it looked like that Saturn, Elohim were multiple races that are founder races that may have been a council of beings that got together in order to see different planets. Prometheus, such a great movie because it was literally exactly what I feel happened. That there was these races. This group of races that would go and seed different solar systems and create life, and they go all over and do that. And so whoever were in these in the Elohim, I don't know, that's open to speculation. And then they came into our solar system, created an outpost on Saturn, hence being the L, and they used that, and they utilized that as the outpost in order to go to different planets and seed life, which is why we're finding now that Venus, most likely and conventionally is accepted now, that definitely had life in the past. Mars had life. Multiple moons of Jupiter probably had life.
Moldeck before it was destroyed.
Right. So we're looking like we're in a solar system that has been around for so long, and a lot of craziness happened in our solar system. And now we're the only
thriving planet. Let's just say the other planets could still be inhabited, but it looks
Yeah.
like we're the only one thriving on the outside. So
Well, in this 3D reality.
That's an ecosystem.
Yeah, in this 3D reality. If
Or
you
a
get if you
biosphere.
get if you vibrate past this octave and get to the fourth, I'm told that there's people living here on Earth that are calling it Earth that are a little bit changed from us human, and because they're vibrating at a higher place that we can't see because they're out of our vibrational range to be able to perceive them.
Exactly.
Our cats see them.
All right, coming in with the next one.
So now, right before we really begin here and delve into the ancient past of the Maya, their culture, their architecture, I want to say this really quick. And the question really here is, why were all the advanced, I got to do my air quotes here, why were all the advanced civilizations south of the border? If you really think about it, when we start seeing advanced pyramid technology, architecture, understanding of acoustics, where does it begin? It begins at the Mexican border, going from the Aztecs and the tribes around there, all the way down to Maya, and then into South America. So you see a lot of advanced structures. So why is it that in North America, the US and Canada, why is it that we don't see this advanced society and civilization that exists south of Mexico border? And why is it such a coincidence? Is it just a coincidence that it's not in North America, but as soon as the Spanish speaking countries begin, all of a sudden we start seeing advanced structures? So again, have you ever wondered why all the super advanced civilizations begin south of the Mexican border? And were there advanced civilizations in North America? So, and if you may have heard of something called the mound builders of North America. Now, the answer to that is there were advanced structures in North America. And this is the artist's interpretation of a structure that is now just currently a mound over there, but this is how it used to look. Cahokia tribe in southern Illinois. So there were pyramids. There's actually accounts of vast civilizations and structures. And when the pilgrims came, some of them were completely abandoned and some of them were extremely thriving. So what I've realized and come to understand is the reason why we have civilizations that don't look so advanced in North America, but starting in Central and going to South, we have all these advanced structures, is because there was a different policy really in regards to the indigenous tribes from the North and from the South. We have the Northern Europeans, from England, Dutch, France, a lot of them in North America, and whereas in the South, we had the Spaniards and the Portuguese. When the Spaniards and the Portuguese came, even though they had this superiority complex that they were better than, they also intermingled and integrated with the cultures, creating mixed races. And now all over, of course, South America, and every country has, most of them have predominantly mixed races. A few of them have predominantly indigenous races, but it's because they integrated, they had children with them. But when you go to North America, you see a whole different concept. It was like, you and I cannot integrate with each other because you are lesser than me. So what happened in North America is there was actually an interest in destroying any evidence of advanced civilizations that existed in North America. So you have all these accounts of these pyramids and advanced structures, but then you also have some accounts of how they were destroyed, right? Very few, because even that was wiped out from the history books. We even have accounts of people that found advanced structures in the Grand Canyon. So to answer my own question here is really, there was advanced civilizations throughout all of the Americas that had were architectural geniuses. But in North America, they basically destroyed most of them, and a few of them are left, and now some mounds are remaining, but no one's really going to explore them. And the reason for that is because of the separation kind of mentality of us versus them.
So, and here's another mound that is a pyramid overgrown with grass that is also in North America. And you may have heard about this one here, and there's a lot of information saying it was a hoax, but there's a lot of information saying it was also true. Like, the fact is that this actually did happen. These individuals, this newspaper did exist, but the hoax is believed that they lied. That's what they believe happened. Not that this story is a hoax, but it actually happened, but they were lying about it. So in 1909, the Arizona Gazette reported that 2 Smithsonian archaeologists discovered an ancient civilization deep inside a vast Grand Canyon cavern, complete with mummies, Egyptian-style artifacts, and Great Pyramids. Although the Smithsonian ascribes the story to urban legend, you can find news clippings online that explore the enormous subterranean cavern system and view numerous rock formations in the canyon with Egyptian names, such as the Tower of Ra and the Chipos Pyramid. And here is the article, just to let you know that it actually does exist, and it is from 1909. Of course, you can find it online and read it really if you want to, but basically it talks about the shrine that they found, the passages that they found, and how it has an Egyptian connection, which is very interesting because, of course, we see a worldwide pyramid culture where they knew similar architectural, how to create these structures. They all the way across the world, they were creating similar structures. So having the Egyptian presence in North America could actually make sense. All right, everybody. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Again, you can watch the replay of this on Alan Steinfeld's YouTube. Tomorrow it'll be on the Portal to Ascension YouTube and on our website, portaltoascension.org. Log in. I think like 3/4 of whoever signed up for this has definitely got an account on our website. The other ones, I need to move from Zoom over to our website so that we can go ahead and create accounts for you there. But the new site is going to be launched next week. It's going to be huge, and a huge campaign for it as well. Lots of events, lots of traffic coming there. So I appreciate all of you. And I'm going to post one more time here the 4-day conference. The site looks like it's working now, so I'm going to send it over here. Free 4-day conference. If you want to donate, go ahead. And then here is also the donation link if you'd like to contribute for today's, for today's presentation and for future ones. Okay. Love you all very, very much. Have a beautiful rest of your day. See you guys later. Bye-bye.